Fucking 8 p.m. nap is brutal. Fuck, Yemero. It's over, man. 8 p.m. nap, your day is over. It doesn't matter what you've got going on. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being productive after having an 8 p.m. nap? Not possible. You were talked about positively on the Majority Report today. Ooh, did they say they like my jacket? My canvas jacket? I appreciate that. I'm glad they like my jacket. Oh my god, I slept like shit, man. I took a 2 p.m. nap that lasted 7 hours. I talked about you positively with my mother. That's crazy. I talked about me positively with my mother last night. I was like, yeah, I'm doing great. How long until after how long after stream starts until we can start linking fashion stuff, chat? Actually, you're most likely to get away with it at the very beginning or very end of stream. The climate is fucked? Yeah, we knew that. Chance of limiting global warming to 1.5 C is virtually zero in current trends? Yeah, that's been the case for a while. What do you think about this fashion take? This is 1 minute long. This had better be good or I'm fucking banning you.
I hate current fashion because judging a book by its cover, it's easy, it's convenient.
Already bored.
I don't know how old anyone is anymore. My own grandpa could be younger than me. I'm on the train and I see people wearing hunting camo. Like, you're from Bushwick. Do you even know the touch of a leaf? Why are you trying to look blue collar? We know you're not blue collar. You're a social media marketer. You're goth. Why are you conservative? It's confusing me. Everyone looks like a lesbian now, but they aren't lesbians. They have no lesbianism in their heart.
This is the take of a person who exclusively sees other people on social media but not in person. What do you mean everyone looks like a lesbian now? What do you mean everyone's dressed in all these, like, esoteric, archaic fashion styles that don't represent their lifestyle? Go outside. Everyone's wearing slim-fit chinos and a polo that hangs under their moobs. What are you talking about? She's Insta Reels pill. It's not reflective of your experience going outside at all. She's playing a bit. Boring. I have never met a conservative goth IRL. No, because they don't exist. The only conservative goths IRL that you meet, there are 3 of them online only. They're deeply mentally ill, and they all have bulimia. Another example of how is this not illegal? Donald Trump creating different ads to different groups. It's not illegal to lie. The MPU fashion video. What the fuck is MPU? Oh, More Perfect Union. Yeah. Yeah, I've worn it. Or wait, I've watched it. Lamau. This ad from Republicans has left Twitter perfectly. Why are you showing me a fucking unlisted ad? What are you... Shut up. Just linking me shit. Seems bad. Military officials are considering breaking their silence on Trump. Really? 2 weeks before the election, huh? Yeah, I've seen this.
if you allow your 2-year-old to smear the contents of his diapers on the wall of your living room, and you do nothing about it, if you allow your 14-year-old to light a joint at the breakfast table, if you allow your hormone-addled 15-year-old daughter to like slam the door of her bedroom and give you the finger, you're gonna get more of it. And those kids are gonna wind up in rehab. It's not good for you. And
I like that he lumped the 2-year-old in there as though a 2-year-old smearing shit on the walls is indicative of some kind of like defiant emotional rebellion against your parenting, and not them being like, I don't know if two's probably too old for that. Just like, fuck, 2? I don't know. Like, I'm not a parent. I can't really say. I feel like if I had a 2-year-old and I saw them doing that, my thought wouldn't be they're rebelling against me. My thought would be, oh, right, they're retarded because they're 2. You know?
it's not good for them. No. There has to be a point at which dad comes home.
I talk a lot about the psychosexual here, where fascist politics is mostly about sexual insecurity, but there's also a deep element of submissive paternalism to it, where the fascist craves an authoritarian leader to tell them what to do and how to live their lives, you know? It's one of the reasons I hate bottoms, and it's not a bit, I'm not joking. I think that there's a deeply reactionary tendency to, like, seeking instruction in life, you know? Not always, but, you know, it's definitely a component. Like, this is really weird,
yeah,
right?
That's right. Dad comes home.
This is like really, really, really weird, I feel. Like, daddy's home to discipline you. Okay. Oh, it gets weirder. Well, shut the fuck up. We're watching the video. You being the guy in the friend group, like every 8 seconds while watching the MV, you're showing your friend, oh, hold on, the good part's right up next. Shut up, I'm listening.
And he's pissed. Dad is pissed. He's not vengeful. He loves his children. Disobedient as they may be, he loves them. Because they're his children, they live in his house. But he's very disappointed in their behavior, and he's going to have to let them know.
It's deeply, and I think it's like, it harkens to maybe the strongest base of Trump voters that you have, which is shitty parents. Parents who think their children are property, parents who view everything in the context of, like, their ownership over their child's lives. Parenting is a deeply fascist institution, I say sarcastically. No, I'm kidding. I'm not being sarcastic. Parenting as it's expressed and supported in America today, a lot of countries, not just America, but this, like, understanding of parenting where you are the authoritarian patriarch whose job it is to control and manage your child's lives, and they are beholden to you. Like, this, it's a deeply authoritarian way of understanding the relationship between parent and child. It's not historically the way things have worked. Like, the dynamic we have right now is very much like, what's that saying? The family unit is the smallest microcosm of the state.
He's going to have to get to your room right now and think about what you did. And when Dad gets home, you know what he says?
Exactly, Annie.
You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl, and you're getting a vigorous spanking.
You can just say this shit, man. Like, you can just say this shit. Pedocon theory is a theory the same way that gravity is a theory, etc., etc. This is also kink. It's not kink, it's just pedophilia. This, again, this, like, obsession with parental control and discipline, controlling the lives and sexualities of your children, which they do, they obsess over it. It's not... These are the men calling queer people groomers, yeah. It's pretty weird. And Dems stopped using weird to describe them, yeah. It's been proven true with practically every study that spanking your kids makes them more violent, more likely to commit crimes. Yeah, oh yeah, well, I mean, no, they don't, the parents do it because they like doing it, because they want to take their anger out, and there's like a psychosexual element to it, you know? Like, I'm really sorry to pull it back to this, but there's a reason why, like, daddy spanking his girl is like a almost ubiquitous and equally kink-coded and parental authority-coded concept. It's deeply psychosexual. Like, there's no like, oh no, it's like there's a big line between them, you know? Bosch and his Freudian psychology. This isn't Freudian psychology. Freudian psychology would be about the child's attraction to the parent because of the, like, phases of their brain development. This is different. The idea of, like, authoritarian conservative parents having an almost sexual level of control over their children, it's not like a new analysis. Like, look at the way religious households relate, like, obeying God means obeying your father, and obeying your father means staying chaste and virginal, and that's why I get to hand you off to your husband during your marriage walk. Like, there's a lot that pulls into this, you know? Purity balls, yeah.
Right now. And no, it's not going to hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it's not. I'm not going to lie. This is going to hurt you a lot more than it hurts me. And you earned this. You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl.
It's really, like, like, I'd be really embarrassed doing this even for a bit.
And it has to be this way. It has to be this way because it's true. And you're only going to get better when you take responsibility for what you did. That's not said in the spirit of hate.
Like, none of this even... You can't even model this onto, like, a political policy, or even, like, a general attitude towards politics. What the fuck is he even talking about? It really is just, like, an attempt to scratch the itch of the, like, deeply psychosexual, authoritarian, pedophilic impulse in a bunch of conservative parents. He's fantasizing? No. You people have it all wrong. You're completely getting it twisted. It's not about him. It's about them. You're all thinking, like, you're acting like he's having a meltdown out there. No. He's reflecting the tendencies of the voter base. He's fantasized about Trump spanking Ivanka. You're not listening to me.
It's not said in the spirit of vengeance or bigotry. Far from it. It's said in the spirit of justice, which is the purest and best thing there is. And without it, things fall apart.
Nice. Harris campaign spokesperson called it, quote, fucking weird. Well, there you go. And you know it's sexual because if he had used his son as an example here, which would be valid within a comparison in parenting, he and the listeners would understand as gay-coded. Oh yeah, if he was like, you're gonna spank that bad boy and he's gonna deserve it, like, obviously everyone would be like, yo, are you gay? But if it's his daughter, then it's fine, because then it's like, you know, then it's different, man. That's different. Classic stuff. I hate everything, dude. Yeah.
If you allow your 2-year-old to smear the contents of his diapers on the wall of your living room, and you do nothing about it, if you allow your 14-year-old to light a joint at the breakfast table...
In a weird way, I think this sort of subconsciously how Trump voters see
If you allow your hormone-addled 15-year-old daughter to, like, slam the door of her bedroom and give you the finger, you're gonna...
Oh, why did that autoplay? Sometimes Twitter autoplays when I scroll down, and I don't understand why. I mean, because Elon runs the site now, whatever. There is like a deeply submissive element to being an authoritarian, you know? Like, if you take a look at populist supporters of somebody like, say, Bernie Sanders, people who like Bernie Sanders really weren't fantasizing about him getting into office and fixing everything. They perceived him mostly as like the forward man of a broader movement, you know? Usually, if anything, communists, socialists, anarchists, they're very participatory in their politics. They fantasize about like a communal effort, like collectively, like everyone has the freedom to join. You have people who like represent the movement, but aren't like necessarily the sole owners of it. The authoritarian, of course, does not see things this way, which is odd. Well, it's not really odd, I guess, but like I think it's telling because obviously any project for political power is a group effort, right? There's no such thing as a leader on their own. No one is powerful innately. It's not anime. There aren't like power levels here. People are strong because they command strength. That's it. So anyone, Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, Stalin, Hitler, anyone, you know, they're only powerful because they're allowed to be, or because they're given power. But fascists don't imagine their strength as a collective project. They don't talk about, like, working hand in hand with the Trump administration. They wait for him the same way religious people wait for the rapture, right? Like the day of the rope or the storm in the QAnon tradition. A day of, like, you know, a grand religious awakening and retribution, where through the power of Trump, they get everything they want all at once. It's very submissive. They don't participate. They don't think of themselves as agents of their own lives, really. They want everything to change around them because of the power of another person. It is the same mindset that people who believe in like evangelicals believe in, where they like, you know, whatever God has in store for me, I am but an instrument of his designs, that kind of thing. But, you know, we've already talked about enough in this segment. We don't have to get into the, like, you know, Reddit atheist criticisms of evangelicism. So conservatives are subs. I mean, I know, again, like, you frustrate me. You do, because you want to drag this into childish playground, like, oh, are you saying that conservatives want to be spanked? You all are, we're all gonna go to the camps, okay? But all I'm saying is I hope you're in line ahead of me, motherfucker. All right, listen to what I'm saying. I'm not in the mood. I didn't sleep enough, okay? Because I was playing video games, which is, I'm gonna make your problem, all right? Are you saying they're subs? I can't speak on their personal sexual predilections, though it certainly seems to be the case that a lot of people who post, like, hardcore conservative macho men are in the DMs of trans women asking to be topped, okay? I'm not, like, I can't speak to the individual predilections. I can only talk about, like, the general political project. Yeah, I saw that episode. I don't even need to click on it. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think I got this jacket one size too small. It's really comfy, but I feel like I should be able to button it. The key to elegance is comfort. If clothing is straining on any part of you, it's not good. That's fine. It works for now. Yes, Flywolf. They don't care, Space Cat. Hey, Vosh, if you have those tendencies as a person, how would it make sense to still hold yourself to a more positive method of political thought? Your sentence makes no sense, and I'm going to tell you off the bat to touch grass. I don't give a shit what your sexual predilections are. They don't pertain in any way to what I've talked about. Don't make it about you. I do get that sometimes, where I'm like, you talk about the psychosexual, and then people in chat or in the emails or whatever are like, you don't have an issue with people who like getting spanked, do you? Stop finding an excuse to talk to me. I hate you. Did you see this shit, by the way? From Pete Buttigieg? It's one thing for some leftist group to call you a fascist. Quite another when it's a fellow Republican. And astonishing when it's your own chief of staff. It's a wild way to say leftists were right the entire time. You know? I hate them. I really do. I really do despise them, yeah. It'd be one thing for a leftist group to say that wealthy people interfere with our democratic process. Quite another when it's fellow billionaire Mark Cuban. And astonishing when it's ex-Twitter employees. What are you talking about, man? Just say we're right. Just put the praise in the bag. They're like 5 to 10 years too late to the fight. I love being like the political group that's right, but too quickly. It's like the classic Vosh call. And I'm telling you, if you're a recent viewer, and only a recent viewer, then you might not see this, or you've only caught like the echoes of it, right? But 2 to 3 years ago, I was out here calling everyone a damn Nazi. And everyone was like, Vosh calls everyone a Nazi. Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. And what happened? No one says that about me anymore. Thana, years of debate with people over, I think you're hyperbolic when you call the Republican, blah, 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 blah. And now look where we are. It's not like I was special or anything. It's a pretty logical extrapolation of the things they were saying and the things they believed. And they called me crazy. Well, sometimes it's the world that's crazy, okay? What's that comment? Go brush your teeth, rat boy. It's because Pete Buttigieg looks a little bit like a little rat guy. He's got, like, big front teeth. He's got, like, a little look to him. Honestly, it'd be kind of endearing if he wasn't also a shitheel. He's a talented rhetorician, though. I'll give him that. I always thought he looks like the Hamburglar. He does look like the Hamburglar. Yeah. Same with Obama. No, Obama looks more like a mouse because of the big ears. He doesn't look rat-like. He'd have to look a little bit more like, you know, but Obama's got like big mouse ears. Top-notch political commentary. Thank you. You see this shit? California looks set to vote down initiatives on increasing the minimum wage, allowing rent control, and prohibiting involuntary work for inmates, while voting in harsher penalties for theft and drugs by a huge margin. Very grim for progressives. Dude, look at this. Polling on Prop 6, 41 to 56 against. What the fuck? I'm with the Daily Wire and Elon Musk on this one. Fuck California, dude. Holy shit. What was Prop 6? Whether or not to make slave labor for prisoners illegal. Literally, California is progressive unless it has anything to do with the homeless, prisoners, or housing policy. In which case, they're Hitlerites. The crazy thing is, no one's even fighting Prop 6. Like, you would think Prop 6 is losing because California is getting blanketed with ads from demons who are saying, like, if you vote for Prop 6, every prisoner will get a lollipop and a child to molest. But no one's really fighting it. Californians just authentically are demonic. Remember Kamala Harris herself argued that we shouldn't reduce sentencing because we might run out of slave labor when she was AG? I feel like I remember that, but I don't remember it well enough to, like, confidently repeat it. Do you have a link to that? Not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying, like, I want, like, a reminder on it. but I remember a gist like it. Is anyone campaigning for Prop 6? Some people. I don't think it's like a huge... I feel like it should be kind of obvious, man. Every morning, tens of thousands of incarcerated individuals in California prisons must work a job they did not necessarily choose. They cook and serve meals, they keep the facilities clean, they collect, wash, and distribute laundry. If prisoners decide to stop reporting to their assigned jobs, or if they attempt to prioritize educational or rehabilitative programs during their mandated work hours, they won't simply risk losing the job, they'll face disciplinary infractions. That's crazy. This is called slavery? Yep, definitionally. If you don't go to work, we're going to punish you. And they do. I remember the first time I saw a man cry like he broke down because he had just lost his mother, and he was still forced to go to work under threat of punishment. It's like the guy can't even take a day off for a couple days to grieve. I expect so much more from my state. You really shouldn't. Californians are miserable when it comes to homelessness and housing, and I think Americans in general just despise prisoners. This is the reason why, like, advocates for better prison system, or like for prison reform, always have to pretend that all prisoners are just people who got arrested for smoking a joint, you know? I don't give a shit if the people in prison are murderers, man. Like, every single one of them. The way we treat prisoners is fucking insane. Hold on. I can't see the fucking Daily Beast thing because now they also have a paywall. Everything is a paywall now. I'm not spending $400 a month to every goddamn news site, 90% of which hate me and would happily see me off to the damn death camps. And no, 12foot.io doesn't always work. In fact, it often doesn't. You're just repeating that because you've seen it on Twitter. You remember seeing a post from 18 months ago about how that works, so you just post it in chat every time I complain about the paywall. Kamala Harris's Attorney General office tried to keep inmates locked up for cheap labor. That's cool. Lawyers for California also argued that allowing certain inmates to be paroled early would deplete a program that allowed prisons to fight wildfires. I remember that. Kamala Harris's AG office made the case that some nonviolent offenders need to stay incarcerated or else the prison system would lose a source of cheap labor. This one girl from my high school AP English class used to talk about how inmates should be used for testing instead of animals, and she wants to be a cop in California, by the way. Yeah, that tracks. Extending 2-for-1 credits to all minimum custody inmates at this time would severely impact fire camp participation, a dangerous outcome while California is in the middle of a difficult fire season and severe drought. Lawyers for Harris wrote in the filing, noting that the fire camp program requires physical fitness in addition to a level of clearance that allowed the felon to be off-site. I mean, yeah, this is pretty clearly Kamala Harris doing exactly that. We can't let people off early because we need slaves to fight fires. That's cool. Thank you, Kamala Harris. It's her lawyers. Why can't we get her words on it? What the fuck are you talking about? It was her... They speak for her. Her office. Who gives a shit what she says personally? Not surprising to me she wouldn't want to make a statement on that personally. That's pretty bad optics. Leave the slavery defense to your legal team so that it's not like front page news. She wasn't AG when this happened? Wait, Masagui, what am I missing here? Ordered to reduce the population of California's overcrowded prisons, lawyers from then California Attorney General Kamala Harris's office made the case that some nonviolent offenders need to stay incarcerated or the prisons would lose a source of cheap labor. In 2011, the Supreme Court ruled in Brown v. Plata that California's prisons were so overcrowded they violated the Constitution's prohibition of cruel and unusual punishment. 3 years later, in early 2014, the state was ordered to allow nonviolent second-time offenders who have served half their sentence to be eligible for parole. By September 2014, plaintiffs in the class action lawsuit were back in court accusing California of slow-walking the process, which lawyers for Harris's office denied. What am I missing here? I mixed it up with the later part of the article that said 2018. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, pro-slavery. I hate her, I hate her, I hate her, I hate her. I do. Kamala was trying to pass the buck and not take responsibility for this. Oh, God. California AG shocked to learn her office wanted to keep eligible parolees in jail to work. Lawyers for California Attorney General Harris argued releasing nonviolent inmates early would harm efforts to fight California wildfires. Harris told BuzzFeed News she first heard about it when she read it in the paper. Oh, I'm sure. The lawyers for your Attorney General's office made that case publicly, and you learned about it from the paper. Oh, well, that was horrible of them. I would never. Come on. Why are we talking about stuff from 10 years ago? Because Californians right now are about to vote no on a proposition that would ban prison slavery in California. I'll be very candid with you because I saw that article this morning and I was shocked, and I'm looking into it to see if the way it was characterized in the paper was actually how it occurred in court. Harris told BuzzFeed News in an interview Monday, I was very troubled by what I read. I just need to find out what we did actually say in court. Okay. Aren't you Californian? Not anymore, though I don't know what that has to do with me. I didn't do this. In a September 30th filing in the case signed by Deputy Attorney General Patrick McKinney, but under Harris's name, the state argued, yeah, dude, I just heard about it in the papers. It was just my lawyers filing an argument in federal court against a ruling made by the Supreme Court of the United States in a filing by my Deputy Attorney General under my name. I just heard about it this morning, man. We're all trying to find out who did this. There are like 40 deputy AGs. Why are you defending this? Do you have any? Why are you like taking pleasure in being a rube? Like, what is it really that difficult to look at this and like, oh, obviously, Kamala Harris. An attorney general, by the way, like the bad guy, like let's just be clear, like attorney generals, generally speaking, are not of a political disposition that we're on the team with. Sorry, I just know how AG offices work. I refuse to believe that attorney general offices work in such a way that you could make a filing under an AG's name from a deputy AG delivered by lawyers to a federal court following a Supreme Court ruling that is objectively a pro-slavery argument that you don't hear about until you read it in the papers. I don't believe that. I do not believe that. Okay, well, it happens constantly. All right, well, I'm blaming her for it anyway. Sorry, that's how leadership works. I mean, you can pull that card if you want. You can pull that card. Like, you know, but the buck stops there. Like, oh, well, actually, it's such a disjointed bureaucracy that nobody knows. Well, sorry, you're top of the office. I'm not, yeah. Whoops, people accidentally defended slavery in my name. Anyway, shouldn't we be talking about how California's citizens are Hitlerites? Several other states, including Colorado, Alabama, Tennessee, and Vermont, recently have banned forced labor in prison. It is genuinely insane. Like, do you have any idea how wealthy California is? It's so fucked up. Like, California bleeds money. It uses it so inefficiently. We don't clear out. I say we like I'm still in California. They don't clear out the fucking forests. They let dry brush sit there forever so PG&E can light 60,000 fires every year, you know, during dry season. They don't give a shit. And meanwhile, you take a look at, like, the budgets, and it's like, oh, yeah, sorry, we know that, like, California produces more money than God. Like, California is a bona fide, like, Catholic church, a Vatican City of wealth. But, you know, we spend all of it on cops, sorry. And, like, stupid bullshit. We spent $8 trillion on a high-speed rail project that never happened. Because Elon Musk said, what if we use teleporters? And then we, like, kicked our feet for 15 years, and China built 60 million miles of high-speed rail. A lot of California's budget is spent on breaking up homeless encampments. Yeah. Newsom spent $300 million to move homeless people in 2023. Why not enslave them? Like, that seems to be where this is all leading. Why not just, like, get on it, man? Just advance the dialectic. That's clearly where you want this to go. He looks evil. Gavin Newsom is extremely evil. Yeah, genuinely, Eddie, just the average American. No one organized a campaign to oppose Prop 6, yet the measure appeared to face an uphill climb in mail-in voting began this month. It really is like a red pill against democracy, again. I know that people are, like, you know, being influenced by bourgeois propaganda and so on and so forth, but it is genuinely crazy that, like, it took nothing. Who is advocating for it, though? I mean, there are groups advocating for it, but I guess my hope would be that even in a completely neutral environment where nobody is voting for or against Prop 6, the average person would be against slavery. I mean, I know it's like a naive belief of mine, and I apologize for that. I apologize for my naivete, but, you know. That's a lie, Vosh. You're misinformed. California's budget is not responsible for national forest. The federal government is. Yeah, but there's lots of forest in California that's not federal property, and they mismanage that too. But yes, I agree. The federal government is very much responsible in large part for that as well. And a lot of it is federal, yeah, but a lot of it isn't. To be fair to California, other states don't have a referendum on this at all. Is that really like being fair to California? Like, oh, 60% of Californians are in favor of slavery, but like at least they had the decency to ask. That to me is like, I don't know. That's like such a low bar, it almost feels insulting to consider it as a bar. It's like pointing at a floorboard. At least they walked over the floorboard. Putting a piece of tape on the ground and like flattening it so it's completely flush with the hardwood and stepping over it. It's like, okay, well, they didn't trip over that. I mean, that's not the only thing that there's not even an argument against the proposition in the guide. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, man. Prop 6. Background proposal, fiscal effects. And ending slavery is a bipartisan priority with widespread support. No argument against Proposition 6 was submitted. Genuinely, like, unbelievable black pill. The depth of despair, like, incomprehensible. Fucking grim. These are the pamphlets that are sent out, like, for people who want general election information on the local propositions. Here are all the benefits to ending slavery. There are no detriments to ending slavery. California's vote, 62 to 38 in favor of keeping slavery. Thank you. Are we the baddies? I genuinely think that if there was a state proposition passed where they were like, it's legal to rape felons. Like, it's okay. If they have a felony on their record, you can rape them. I think that would, like, pass. I'm kind of not kidding. I think that would pass. The median American does not think of prisoners as human beings. They do not care. They like really, really don't. Every time there's a natural disaster, they get left in the prisons to die. No one gives a shit. It floods or whatever else. The proposition to like put air conditioning in, what was it, Texas jails, which can get like 120 degrees in their cramped little cells, was just met with widespread mockery from everyone. We don't believe in rehabilitation, like, as a concept. I mean, we already have prison rape jokes integrated into our culture. Yeah, because we don't care. Like, we don't care. No argument against Proposition 6 was submitted. Fucking grim. Yeah, Hidden Marty, that's the point. It's losing. The proposition is losing. 41 to 56 in the early count. It's not even the only proposition here. I don't remember all the props. California propositions. And go through them here. Number 2 is authorizes bonds for public school and community college facilities. Number 3, constitutional right to marriage. Amend California Constitution to recognize fundamental right to marry regardless of sex or race. That's nice. So that's in favor. Number 4, authorize bonds for safe drinking water. Number 5, allows local bonds for affordable housing and public infrastructure. That one's 48 to 50. 6 is the slavery one. 32, raise the minimum wage. 44 to 54. For employers with 26 or more employees, to $17 per hour immediately, 18 on January 1st, 2025. For employers with 25 or fewer employees, 17 on January 1st, 2025, 18 on January 1st, 2026. Supporters, none. Opponents, California Chamber of Commerce, California Restaurant Association, California Grocers Association. Nice. So, nothing there. Number 33, expands local government's authority to enact rent control. Losing. Number 34, restricts spending of prescription drug revenues by certain healthcare providers. Losing, though close. Number 35, provides permanent funding for Medi-Cal healthcare services. Winning. How nice. And 36, which is winning by a remarkable 73 to 25, allows felony charges and increased sentences for certain drug and theft crimes. So that's the one thing Californians are turning out in favor of by a 3-to-1 margin, is felonies and higher, longer sentences for theft and drug crimes. Drug crimes! Allows felony charges for possessing certain drugs and for thefts under 950 if defendant has 2 prior drug or theft convictions. Ah, we're doing the 3-strike rule all over again. Arguments in favor of Prop 36. Prop 36 makes California communities safer by addressing rampant theft and drug trafficking. It toughens penalties for fentanyl and drug traffickers and smash and grabs while holding repeat offenders accountable. It targets serial thieves and encourages treatment for those addicted to drugs using a balanced approach to fix loopholes in current laws. Anti-Prop 36. Don't be fooled. Prop 36 will lead to more crime, not less. It reignites the failed war on drugs, makes simple drug possession a felony, and wastes billions on prisons, while slashing crucial funding for victims, crime prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation. This puts prisons first and guts treatment. Vote no. It's gonna pass. Wow, what a surprise. This one's supported by the California District Attorneys Association and the Family Business Association. It doesn't matter what state it is, the Family Business Association is always a Hitler-right group. Prop 6 and 36 work so well together. Yep. Gonna have people given felony charges for possession of fent, and then they're going to go and be enlisted in the Californian Slave Corps against the 17,000 wildfires that get sprung up every year from climate change and PG&E not fixing the damn wires in their power stations. Great synergy on 6 and 36. Really good build path on that one. Yeah, damn penal battalions are going to be like Allahu Akbar suicide bombing forest fires by strapping a bunch of water tanks to their body and being dropped on them via helicopter. It's the only method to fight the fires! It's the only way! 6 plus 36 banned in tournament play. True! Man, me on the ladder. My opponent plays the give fent possession a felony charge plus slave felon penal allegiance. God damn it! This is like the 4th time in a row I've faced this deck. God damn it. Hate this meta. Me when I get infinited by the Hitler deck. Man, I fucking hate the Hitler deck. Yeah, at least Anna Kasparian's going to be happy with the results. Maybe she won't move out of California. This is the greatest state of all time. We've got to stop. We've got to stop. It's too funny. We have to stop. Oh yeah, speaking of attorney generals, Michigan recruits state attorney general to crack down on Gaza protesters. In a highly unusual, read Hitler, move, regents allegedly bypassed local prosecutors, believing Dan and Nessel would be tougher on student protesters. I love that, man. You've got like some students holding "Please don't kill babies" signs up, and Michigan is like, we're gonna need to bring in the big guns for this one. We're skipping right past local prosecution, right past state or local police. We're going right to the damn state AG's office. Call in the heavy troopers. Bring in the National Guard. Who gives a shit, man? Who gives a shit? How come university leaders are also fascists? Because every single university is a money-making scheme off of real estate speculation and college football. They do not give a shit about your education. They are controlled entirely by their donors and by the people who bring in money like it's a business. They don't care about education. They're just there to make money. If you disrupt that process, like, say, by protesting against the genocide of Gazans when a lot of their donors are conservatives or Zionists, but I speak, you know, but I repeat myself, then they will crack down on that. The environment at a university, the decorum, the beautiful architecture, the everything, all of it is just there to woo people into investing in real estate, attending sports games, and you know, gifting them lots and lots of money as a sponsor. That's it. It should all be government funded. This is the case with public universities as well, though it tends to be worse with private ones. Yeah, but I mean, they shouldn't be earning money on the side at all. Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? Can you elaborate on the real estate part? Universities own a shocking amount of property, like in the satellites around their campus. There's a lot of use they get out of it. It kind of varies university by university, but they often own more than you might think. They got a lot. There are a bunch of cities where it's like so much of the residential property around the university is owned by the university. Cambridge, Massachusetts is half owned by Harvard and half owned by MIT. Yeah, it's pretty wild. UPenn is literally the largest employer in the city of Philadelphia. Philly gives them a preferential tax rate because of it. It's fucked up, man. They're like fucking political machines. It's like Carnegie Hall shit. Tammany Hall, not Carnegie Hall. Thank you. Tammany Hall. Yes, yes. The point stands. I'm not. I'm not here. Did you see this Obama cringe from the rally? Is this cringe?
I gotta say, my Paul Fasella calm and ready to drop bombs, but I keep on forgetting.
Is it cringe? That's based, actually. It's like one of the few things about him that I like. He's real for that one. Are you saying he can't steal a white man's flow? Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Weak, arms are heavy, vomit on my sweater already, mom's spaghetti.
Yeah, you can't be mad at this. Oh, drama. Obama drops bombs, all right? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, drama. Oh, drona. Oh. We have to get to the thing, man. What if we didn't? Then I just have to be with you for longer, which I don't want. What do I want to do right now? I don't know what I want to do. I got a 0.2% achievement in the game that I was playing the other day. Throne fell, I think. What was the achievement? Just like, you know, completing all the challenges in the map. Okay, where the fuck is the full Kamala Harris town hall video? Why does CNN not have the full video? It's just broken up into parts. Part 1, it's not even in order. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, Part 5. Oh, yeah. Do you really need the fucking YouTube AdSense revenue that badly, CNN? Jesus Christ. Okay, let me reorder these. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, Part 5. Could you at least upload them in the right order, man? Part 6. Here's a 37-minute version. That ain't it. That's the must-watch moments. I know because I'm looking at it. There we go. Part 7.
Tanisha Spall from Lansdowne, Pennsylvania. She works as an education administration manager.
Stop playing audio. I didn't ask you to play audio. No one asked. Oh, this? No getting around it. Is your beard naturally two-toned? I mean, you're looking at it right now. What do you think? Got like a blondish red goatee area, and then all the hair, like, around the jaw is dark brown. I don't think it's super uncommon. Unsolicited audio helps men understand dick pics. True, I think. I still can't believe that California stuff. As someone who lived in California, I sure can. Does the beard get itchy? Nah, not really. Look, I've only seen one clip from the town hall, and it gave me this vibe. From the Kamala's Wins Harris account. Breaking, these two photos tell you everything you need to know about who is serious about leading our country. Here's Kamala Harris down there by the wall, which she's in favor of. And then here's Donald Trump being a stupid, stinky minimum wage worker who we hate. This is like the gist, I think, that we're getting. I mean, we'll get to it. Wide Kamala Harris isn't real. Wide Kamala Harris can't hurt you. Wide Kamala Harris.
And welcome. We are live from Chester Township, Pennsylvania, Delaware County, one of the critical counties around Philadelphia that will help determine who wins the White House. Welcome to CNN's presidential town hall with the Democratic nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm Anderson Cooper. Now, in this room, we have assembled a group of 32 Pennsylvania voters who say they are still undecided or persuadable. All of them are registered to vote. Some cast votes for Joe Biden in 2020, others for Donald Trump. Some didn't vote at all, and for some, this is their first election. Many are leaning right now to one candidate or another, but they all say they have yet to make their final choice. Now, we found these voters working with a nonpartisan research firm, as well as business and religious groups, universities, and other civic organizations. These voters are asking—
I still fully believe that all these people are lying. I do not think a person could be politically plugged in enough to be at a fucking presidential town hall, but be undecided. I don't believe these people are real. I think that they are pretending to be undecided so they can get free hand jobs from CNN and be important and talk to someone who might be a future president. I don't believe it. I don't believe this bullshit at all. The obsession with the undecided voter as like a concept is exactly what's wrong with the Democrats. Trump doesn't go trying to appeal to undecided voters. That's not his campaign strategy. He's literally said, like, somebody asked him, a reporter asked him, how do you feel? What would you say to a person who's undecided about voting for you? And Trump said, I wouldn't say anything. Trump understands, or at least the people around him understand, that the most effective way to win the election, well, in addition to cheating, is to just energize your existing base as much as possible, not try to weaken yourself by appealing to a bunch of non-existent centrist psychopaths who are undecided on maybe the most polarized election in American history, you know?
Asking their own questions tonight, selected by CNN to cover a variety of topics. You may see them holding a piece of paper when they're asking their question. It has their question on it. That is a question they have come up with. It has not been edited in any way by CNN. We also invited former President Donald Trump to participate in a town hall or a debate. He declined. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President—
Yeah, there was smart. It doesn't matter.
President Kamala Harris. And Vice President, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. You have a mic right here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Thanks so much for being with us. We're going to get to the audience in just a second. I want to start by asking you, though, for weeks you have been calling Donald Trump unstable, unhinged. You've called him dangerous. You've quoted General Milley recently, who called him a fascist. Today, you quoted General Kelly, who said that Trump repeatedly praised Hitler.
Milley, Kelly.
But there are tens of millions of Americans right now who have heard all those things, and they don't buy it, or even if they do, they're still going to vote for Donald Trump. He's arguably more popular now than ever. You have 13 days to go. What do you say to those voters to convince them? Because some of them are in this room.
Sure, and I thank you all for taking the time to be here. And you could be doing a number of other things with your time. So this really is proof that we love our country. People are engaged, Anderson, and really want to talk about the issues. And so the issue that you raise, yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is unstable, increasingly unstable, and unfit to serve. And I don't necessarily think that everyone has heard what you and I have heard repeatedly, which is the people who know Donald Trump best, the people who worked with him in the White House, in the Situation Room, in the Oval Office, all Republicans, by the way, who served in his administration, his former chief of staff, his national security advisor, former secretaries of defense, and his vice president have all called him unfit and dangerous. They have said explicitly he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. They have said he should never again serve as president of the United States. We know that is why Mike Pence is not running with him again, why the job was empty. And then today we learned that John Kelly, a four-star Marine general, who was his longest-serving chief of staff,
Misspoke,
gave an interview recently in the last 2 weeks of this election, talking about how dangerous Donald Trump is And I think one has to think about...
Am I the only one who sees the jiggly Chiron text? I am a little bit curious as to why the Chiron is trying to bounce it down freak style.
Why would
Look at that.
someone who served with him, who is not political, a 4-star Marine general, why is he telling the American people now? And frankly, I think of it as he's just putting out a 911 call to the American people. Understand what could happen if Donald Trump were back in the White House. And this time, we must take very seriously those folks who knew him best and who were career people are not going to be there to hold him back. At least before, there were folks who we know what he would say, but they would restrain him. Imagine now Donald Trump in the Oval Office, in the Situation Room. He who has openly admired dictators, said he would be a dictator on day one. The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff has said he is a fascist to the core. So I think that when the American people reflect, especially those who are undecided, on who you should listen to, don't take my word for it. In fact...
Again, like, I've said this before, and we're going to be doing a lot of critical engagement here, I think, because, like, Kamala Harris's campaign has definitely faltered in its messaging over the past few weeks, since the DNC at least. I just don't think anyone's motivated by this messaging because everyone already has made up their mind on whether or not Trump is bad or not. A lot of Americans are just following, like, well, the economy was better 4 years ago or whatever. It wasn't. Or they're, like, you win with energy, not with points. We are in a post-fact world right now, okay? You can mention this stuff, but I think that you should talk about it in a more energetic fashion, you know? I think that you can rev people up a little bit. But this, like, whinging and pleading, I don't think that it goes anywhere. I don't think that it works.
Go online and listen to John Kelly, his voice, talking about what he thinks of Donald Trump 2 weeks before the election, because I think we all know, to your point, Anderson, it is close, but there are undecided voters who clearly, by being here, have an open mind, want to talk in a way that is grounded in issues and fact. And when they hear these facts, I think it compels a lot of people to be concerned about the future of our country with Donald Trump at the lead.
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I also believe that the people who know him best on this subject should be...
And again, like, I know that threading the needle on this messaging is a little bit more difficult, but it's not just Trump that is a fascist, right? He's incidentally a fascist, sure. The entire GOP is behind this. This is not just one guy. Like, this is a wide and, like, a widely supported movement. You have to be, because otherwise you're just going to be playing whack-a-mole with this forever.
Be trusted. Again, look at their careers. These are not people, with the exception, I think, of only Mike Pence. These were not politicians. These are career people who have served in the highest roles in national security.
I think Mike Pence is a politician.
Who have served as generals in our military, who are highly respected. Talking about the person who would be commander-in-chief, not to mention what we know and what they've told us about how he talks about the military, servicemen and women, referring to them as suckers and losers, how he demeans people who have taken an oath to sacrifice their life for our country. And I do believe, Anderson, that part of this is why...
It's like the moment has passed, right? Nobody gives a shit about institutions anymore. Nobody thinks the institutions are sacred, you know? So, like, this is like 6 minutes so far where the argument for him being a fascist is all of the powerful people around him, all of the technocrats around him don't, like, trust or like him anymore. Not talking about his policy or his messaging. Why not his promise to deport 20 million immigrants, which could, like, literally tear the country apart? Why not, like, him going after his enemies? Why not him constantly threatening to arrest or imprison, or, like, arrest, imprison, attack everyone who disagrees with him? Like, it's just, if people were concerned with the legitimacy of institutions, they wouldn't be on the fence right now already.
Even just this week, I traveled this state and others with Liz Cheney, former Congress member who was a very high-ranking Republican. She has endorsed me. Her father, the former Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, is voting for me. Over 400 previous members of the administration, from Ronald Reagan to both Presidents Bush to Donald Trump.
Again, like, who the fuck is this for? You have drank the Kool-Aid. You have, like, imagined your own... You've bought into your own propaganda, the idea that there's this noble, like, neocon old GOP lurking underneath the current MAGA one that can be appealed to with some you know, good sense and reason. It's not... They're not there, man. No one gives a shit what George Bush or fucking McCain or Dick Cheney thinks.
Even have endorsed my candidacy. And the reason why, among them, is a legitimate fear based on Donald Trump's words and actions that he will not obey an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. He himself has said he would terminate the Constitution of the United States and wants to earn your vote to stand again behind the seal of the President of the United States? No one standing behind the seal of the President of the United States of America should be in that position saying they want to terminate the Constitution of the United States.
Let's get to some of our voters. I want you to meet a registered Republican who's very concerned about Trump's views on democracy and January 6th. She told us she's looking for a reason to vote for you, but is yet to make her final decision. Her name is Natasha Kwiatkowski.
Psychopath.
She's a student at Bryn Mawr College. What's your question, Natasha?
Awesome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking my question.
Thank you, Natasha.
And as someone who hasn't fully committed to either party, how do you plan to address the concerns of independent voters and anti-Trump Republicans like myself who feel left out of the polarized political landscape? And what specific actions would you take to bridge the political divide and create more unity?
That's a wonderful question.
It's not. It's horrible. You can't create political unity with fascists. It's fake position. This person doesn't exist.
To you to be a president for all Americans. And I think, to the point of, in the spirit of your question, that people are...
I don't know whether I prefer neoliberalism or outright fascism. I just like them to get along. Could you explain to me what you, the neoliberal, the representative of the party that desperately tries to appeal to the Republicans and engage in outreach and do bipartisan governance, what you can do to bring about more unity? I would love to ask this question to Donald Trump, but he refused to do a town hall because he doesn't care about me. Fuck you.
Frankly exhausted with what has been happening over the last several years, which is this environment that is suggesting that Americans should be pointing fingers at one another, that we are divided as a nation, instead of what I think you and I will speak for us, I think, who believe and know. The vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And I think that the American people deserve to have a president who is grounded in what is common sense, what is practical, and what is in the best interest of the people, not themselves. I started my career as a prosecutor. And I will tell you, I never in most of my career was outside of Washington, D.C., by the way. Only 4 years when I was in the Senate were in Washington, other than being vice president. I have never in my career as a prosecutor...
Vosh, undecided voters don't exist. Also, Vosh, median voters retarded. Now, I'm not saying undecided voters don't exist. I'm saying undecided centrists don't exist. And the median voter is retarded. But the median voter isn't an undecided centrist. The median voter is like an insane, like, mix of incoherent, incompatible views, and whichever one, like, wins out the loudest, like, decides who they're going to vote for. The median voter is not, like, temperate or moderate at all. The median voter wants to kill some group of people. I'm not even joking. I would bet you more than 50% of the people in this country, if you asked, like, let's run down this list of people, which one of them do you think should be, like, mass executed? Like, more than half of Americans would go, oh, like that group. Yeah, probably. The idea that, you know, people who are undecided are centrists, no. They're lunatics, and you just haven't found the button to press. In a lot of cases, the button is like energy. They just want to be caught up in a movement, you know? God, Bernie Sanders would have been done so fucking well, dude. He would have done so well.
Prosecutor asked a victim or a witness of a crime, are you a Democrat or a Republican? The only thing I have ever asked is, are you okay? And I do believe that is what
they both exist. The people you don't think exist are the people who voted against Trump during the 2024 primaries, like Nikki Haley voters. Yeah, but Nikki Haley voters are going to be voting for Trump in a lot of cases. Also, in a lot of states, you can vote against Donald Trump in the Republican primaries, even if you're not a registered Republican. Like, it depends on the state, but like, no, they're not at all. Also, Nikki Haley is also a fascist, just like less of one, kind of like one step removed.
The American people deserve in their president, and not someone who makes decisions based on who voted for them or what is in their personal interest. And I reference that because, as we know, it has been revealed that Donald Trump, when he was president, during extreme disasters, when it came time to determine how those areas, those people who had been traumatized by extreme weather would get relief, he asked the question, did they vote for him? I believe the American people deserve better. And they deserve a president who is focused on solutions, not sitting in the Oval Office plotting their revenge and retribution.
Part 2.
Let me introduce you to Eric Swenson. He runs a service
Thank God
desk
we
for
still
an
have
IT
the wiggly
company in
Chiron.
Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. He's registered as a libertarian.
Oh. Libertarian? Psychopath. 1 second. Okay.
Describes himself as an independent. He says he's undecided. Eric?
Thank you, Anderson. Thank you both for being here.
The quarter zip after Dye Workwear put out his thread dissing them. A bold move.
So my question is concerning groceries. Grocery prices have gone up quite a bit in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And some people blame former President Trump. Some people blame President Biden. Who would you say is correct? And what would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
Thank you, Eric. And you're absolutely right. You know it. I know it. I think most Americans know it. Price of groceries is still too high. And we need to address it in a number of ways. One of my aspects of doing what we need to do to bring down the cost of living for working people and the middle class in America is to address the issue of grocery prices. Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general, where I took on price gouging. And part of my plan is to create a new approach that is the first time that we will have a national ban on price gouging, which is companies taking advantage of the desperation and need of the American consumer and jacking up prices without any consequence or accountability. So that is one way. But to your point, Eric, there are a number of issues that we need.
She's never going to do this, by the way.
To address in terms of bringing down the cost of living. It includes what we need is a new approach that I bring to the issue of affordable housing, including, for example, rent. And again, I bring to it my experience, knowing what has been happening in terms.
Why not? Because what she's describing here, price gouging, it's called profit seeking, and it's how our economic system called capitalism works. Our laws against price gouging are extremely vague and usually targeted to people who are price gouging in emergencies, like people raising the price of water bottles after a hurricane or something. But the idea of making it illegal for corporations to jack up the prices of their products just arbitrarily, what are you talking about? That's how it works. Yeah, that's not a bug, that's a feature. Oh, like food chains and grocery companies increase the prices of their products even though they didn't need to? Yeah? Idiot. That came free with your capitalism.
In terms of how corporations have been buying up blocks of property to diminish competition, and then rents get jacked up, and addressing that, both in terms of making sure that there is a consequence and accountability for that, but also investing in people's dreams of home ownership, knowing that for too long, frankly, both administrations in both parties, Democrats and Republicans, haven't done enough to deal with the issue of housing. And we need a new approach that includes working with the private sector. I say that as a devout public servant, working with the private sector to cut through the red tape, working with home builders, working with developers to create tax incentives so that we can create more housing supply and bring down the price.
Let me just ask you about price gouging. I looked at your plan. You talk about going after price gougers, and I'm quoting from the plan, on essential goods during emergencies or times of crisis. I get that. How does that help, though, someone like Eric with prices that for years the grocery prices just been high?
Well, first of all, Anderson, as you know,
I'm pretty sure that grocery prices aren't even that high relative to the median income anyway. Like, they're not that different from what they were. We just got used to, like, the decline in cost that we got after the 2008 housing crash. Now they are. I'm pretty sure I've seen that, like, relative to the average income, there hasn't been that much variability. Kroger literally came out and said they are. Where'd you hear that from? Me? When was the last time you were at the store? Oh, thank you, chat. Thank you. Very good faith. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. What do you think? I have a fucking man-slave who does my grocery purchasing for me? Vosh made a point that contradicts the established narrative that I hear from Twitter. He must have slaves getting his food for him. Come on. A lot of foods have doubled or tripled in price. You're all gonna... You're gonna get me. Kroger executives admitted to price gouging during the pandemic. I know. You can find out more about this on the channel Vosh. What do you like? Do you say anything mildly contradictory, and anywhere like people are like, "Oh, you don't even know about Thing," and they learned about Thing from you. I'm talking about the ratio of the prices of the median groceries relative to average income. That varies like location to location, food item to food item. And obviously, like, wages are in a better state in some places than others. We can find this, though. Median wage to grocery price chart. I've seen this chart. It'd take me a while to find what I found, though. Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, food in U.S. city average / median household income in United States. So this is just urban income, not rural. But yeah, index 1982 to 1984 equals 100 current dollar. I think this is just a different version of the chart that I was looking at. Like the ratio of the CPI relative to income. Rural prices have some extreme outliers. Yeah, they do. It's harder to track in rural prices, yeah. So since COVID, there has been a tick up. But it was higher back here. I'm pretty sure this is the case. It was just like we hit like a low point for a while. Thank you, Trump. Now, rent has skyrocketed and not keeping in line with the median income growth. Apparently, the CPI was up 2.5% 2023 to 2024, and food was only up 2.1%. Yeah, I think it's the grocery prices have increased, but I think that if you take a look at the long arc of what they cost relative to people's average income, they're more or less on pace with what you'd expect, though obviously it's desirable that they be lower than where they are right now, or at least that the income go higher. Rent prices right now are fucking absurd. So I think that that one has rocketed up. People are probably just very sensitive to food prices because they buy it so frequently. Well, also, and you're seeing this a lot in chat, the autists in my community are like buying 112 different grocery items, but there are like 3 of them that have really gone up in price, so they really fixate on that. And because those 3 items have doubled in price, they're like, oh yeah, groceries have doubled in price, even though most of the items that they get cost more or less the same, or like 20% higher or something, you know? So like, yeah, I've seen some items have gone up like 60, 70% in price. Most of them haven't, you know? A lot of the items cost just the same as they used to, or around the same. But you see like some of the items have gone up and you're like, oh, groceries have gone up by like 100%. It's not true. Me when my grocery bill went up 50% because I buy 500 boxes of crackers. Me with the with yogurt. Honestly, I buy that shit out. The CPI is going up, but the increase in the past 4 years is negligible. They're still going up, but anyone who says they've doubled or anything is exaggerating. Yeah. I'm not trying to like downplay the issue. I'm only saying that I think that in reality, rent is what's really... Meat is what's gone up. Yeah, but that's base though. Meat should be way more expensive. If grocery price inflation was entirely down to meat, that would be based. Like animal agriculture should be way more expensive. I'm sorry, but like eggs shouldn't cost 20 cents. Are you insane? I'm sorry, we subsidize those industries enough, okay? You will eat beans and rice and you will like it, motherfuckers, okay? You've gotten way the fuck too and it's Americans too. Americans eat more meat than anybody. There's like nowhere else where they eat that much damn animal products, you know? I wonder why we have such a heart disease problem. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, yeah, I'm pro-inflation as long as it's on animal agriculture and stacked bitches with big titties. It's always so funny in anime when they suggest having meat for dinner as a treat. Or you can literally, like, in any culture around the world, as recently as like 20 years ago, they're like, oh, we got this delicious cut of meat. What a special treat for us to enjoy, you know, around the dinner table. And meanwhile, like every American family is chowing down on 6 hot dogs a day. It's crazy. Burgers are tasty, though. So is rice and beans. You'll learn to adapt. A lot of people spreading stuff about how expensive groceries are buying the most expensive brands from the most expensive stores. Yeah, literally. Yeah, literally, dude. From this Nazi. She's a Nazi. This cost me 175. And it's like, oh, this did? The like organic ground beef from the expensive grocery store. You're the like, okay, yeah. Kettle and Fire and Vital Farms, yeah. I do think 175 is still crazy for that. I agree, it should be at least 300. People who buy these brands should be charged way more. By the way, exclusively animal products. Butter, meat, eggs. Well, there's Greek yogurt, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm not sympathetic. This cost me 75 and it's gold covered caviar. This meal cost me $800 and you're at Salt Bay's, like the gold foiled steak, the awful looking shit, you know? Yogurt is also an animal product, if I recall. Oh shit, yeah, sorry. I don't know why. Sometimes my brain categorizes it in a different... I do love yogurt, but I'd be willing for yogurt to be more expensive if it means, like, being morally consistent when it comes to my anti-animal product position. cashew yogurt's actually decent. Oh, cashews. You mean the nuts that are harvested by slaves whose hands burn from the acid of the shell and which costs $1 million per pound? Bet you didn't know that. Cashew nuts are so dangerous to process because they excrete like acid that burns your skin instantly when it comes out. So cashew harvesters in the developing world, like in India, have like blistered, blackened fingertips. That's not dirt. That's their skin. Not good.
Obviously, CNN has been covering extensively what has been happening in the state of Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. It's a real issue. I was Attorney General of California. I was the top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in the country. I took this issue on because it affects a lot of people. And I'm not going to apologize for the fact that we need to actually deal with accountability when these, not all, in fact, most don't, but when companies are taking advantage of the desperation and the need of the...
What the fuck is Vosh on about? Average grocery prices are up because of corporate mergers and late-stage capitalism. Where the fuck is this denial and stop whining about it attitude coming from? I have to say, you guys really are lucky because I feel like I'm the only one who can hand this down to you. You know what I mean? Because I know for a fact that like any other leftist commenter in my position, like this wouldn't be an issue worth pointing on. But like, yeah, a lot of the grocery bill bullshit that you hear is like fake. And you are subject to personal bias. You are. You are not perfect. Everyone is. I feel it too when I go to the grocery store, but the math on this doesn't lie. The relationship between the CPI and average consumer product, and then like you factor in the fact that a lot of it's animal products, which we overconsume anyway, so you kind of can't fairly weigh that in. Like, I'm not here to lie to you. I'm not saying you're whining. The cost has gone up relative to what it was before. Groceries were very, very, very cheap relative to the average income during the Trump administration. I'm just not here to like, don't fall for right-wing narratives just because they align with like your preconceived biases, you know? Yeah, grocery prices have gone up. It's not really because of anything that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris did. And even then, they haven't gone up like massively relative to average income. Rent has. You can toot that horn on rent like all the way up, you know?
The American people. We saw it actually during the pandemic as well, where because of supply chain issues, there was a reduction of supply, and then they would inflate the price of everyday necessities. Not to mention, by the way, again, Donald Trump should be here tonight to talk with you and answer your questions. He's not. He refused to come.
Aren't average incomes inflated by the mega wealthy? Median income, not mean income. Median.
But understand that part of his plan is to put in place a national sales tax of at least 20% on everyday goods and necessities. And that, by economist estimates, independent economists, would cost you as the American consumer and taxpayer an additional $4,000 a year.
I want you to meet Carol Nakanoff, a political science professor at Swarthmore College. She's a registered Democrat who says she's leaning toward voting for you, has yet to make her final decision. Carol?
Hi, Carol. Thank
Good
you.
evening. Thank you for visiting us in Delaware County, Vice President Harris. My question is this. If you could accomplish only one major policy goal that required congressional action, what would it be?
That's actually a good question. I like that.
And why?
Well, there's not just one. I have to be honest with you, Carol. There's a lot of work that needs to happen, but I think that maybe part of this point that how I think about it is we've got to get past this era of politics and partisan politics.
So are you against price controls against grocery corporations? I'm not against them necessarily. I just think that she'll never do them because that would be an insanely based thing to do. Price controls can be really dangerous if they're misused. If they're used selectively and intelligently, then they can be powerful. Though I'd really prefer at that point you just nationalize the corporations who are doing this stuff. I guess what I'd kind of like is if every American got their own food stamps, and every American, basically for free or at an incredibly reduced rate, could get a certain allotment, like a ration, of rice, beans, chicken stock, milk, you know, like the basics, you know, like, and it would be enough to fill everyone's household with like basic food. And if you want to go out there and spend $4.26 on like crackers, you can do that. I think that'd be good because it encouraged people to learn how to cook. They would have lots of nice healthy food. It would probably bring down like obesity rates. I think it'd be good. There's like a version of this that would be very good, I think. Everyone dies of malnutrition from potatoes, rice, beans, chickens. I think they'll be okay. No one goes hungry, though, a baseline. Dude, you're not starving on rice, beans, so on and so forth. That's just like, if you're a good cook, you can make delicious meals every night with basic ingredients. You don't need the fruit snacks. I'm very sorry. I know that my audience doesn't want to hear this, but you actually don't biologically require the hyper-processed, like, fruit snacks and, like, the nerd gummy sticky candies or what. Like, you actually can make filling meals with basic foods. I'm just saying.
Slowing down what we need to do in terms of progress in our country. And that means working across the aisle. I've done that before. We did it around whether it be what we were able to accomplish with the bipartisan infrastructure deal or some of the work that we have done in terms of dealing with gun safety. But we've got to work across the aisle. And it is my commitment to work with Democrats, with Republicans, with independents, to deal with a number of issues, whether it be what we need to do in terms of housing.
Terrible answer from Kamala Harris, by the way. Remember, we are watching a town hall. She was asked, what's one thing you would pass with congressional approval? And she's giving, like, the standard stump speech. There's so much we have to do, but we're all going to have to work together. Rather than, like, showing a bit of personality and committing to an issue that she's deeply passionate about. Like, Trump would answer, like, the wall or the deportation or whatever. But she's like, well, I have a bunch of policies that I'd abstractly like to get passed through bipartisanship that won't happen, so none of these will actually happen, you know.
And creating legislation that creates incentives for that, what we need to do to reinstate the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do, whether it be what we need to do to actually invest in a substantial way in the industries of the future, in American-based manufacturing, in American-based industries where American workers and union workers have those jobs in a way that is good-paying jobs that gives people the dignity they deserve. All of those areas I plan on working across the aisle and with Congress, including the issue of...
Also, like, Democrats have to stop pretending that bipartisanship exists anymore. Republicans are openly obstructionist. Like, you have to just flatly say, I'm going to try my best to get this thing that I care about passed. Republicans have historically been extremely obstructionist to Biden's, administration's policies. So we're going to see how good of a job I can do. I'll do everything I can to reach out to them. But honestly, it seems like they often prioritize party over country. And there's not much that I can do about that without the American people showing them what they prefer.
Immigration, which we've got to fix.
Let me ask you, you've talked about codifying Roe v. Wade. That would obviously require 60 votes in the Senate, a majority of the House. That's a big leap. We don't have that yet. If that's not possible to codify it in the House, what do you do?
I think we need to take a look at the filibuster, to be honest with you. But the reality of it is this. Let's talk about how we got here. When Donald Trump was president, he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did as he intended. And now in 20 states, we have Trump abortion bans that include punishing healthcare providers, doctors and nurses. In Texas, do you know they provide for prison for life? For a healthcare provider for doing the job that they believe is in the best interest of their patient? Laws, Trump abortion bans, some that make no exception even for rape or incest. One of the areas I specialized in as a prosecutor was crimes against women and children. The idea you would tell a survivor of a violation to their body that they have no right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. This is what's happening in our country. You all may have heard the stories. Women have died. Women have died because of these laws. And the suffering, I have to say, Anderson, traveling, for example, I was with Liz Cheney this week. She is unapologetically pro-life and will also tell you that she doesn't agree with what's been happening. I find that many people I've met who are pro-life have said to me, you know, I didn't intend that this would happen. I didn't intend that women who are suffering a miscarriage would develop sepsis, as has happened many times. I didn't intend that women would die. I didn't intend that there would now be restrictions on access to in vitro fertilization. I didn't intend that there would be an effort to limit access to contraception. So, you know, this is probably one of the most fundamental freedoms.
Nothing has been more true than Vosh saying how liberals think correct knowledge will change Republicans' minds. She's doing this and it's like saying nothing. Yeah, literally. It's just the lack of energy, man. I mean, they had it up until the DNC. God, I miss Bernie Sanders. AOC killed it at the DNC, by the way. Like, I think that might have secured a powerful future for her. You know, she can rule the, like, you know, government in exile when J.D. Vance assumes control after Donald Trump falls down the stairs and we have a 27-year-long uninterrupted reign, a la The Handmaid's Tale. It's just... I don't really think she's talking like Hillary Clinton. I think the people who are saying that are just being kind of sexist, to be honest. I think that she would come across better here if she was a man, and that's just because we're used to thinking of men as more authoritative when they speak, whereas, because there are people in chat saying stuff like, oh, she sounds whiny, she sounds patronizing. That's because she's a woman, and you're projecting a bit of bias onto her. I'm trying to be conscientious of that, too, because I'm also subject to implicit bias here, right? No one's perfect. So I think that, like, to an extent, we're just, like, doing the thing, you know? She doesn't sound like Hillary at all. Maybe in the sense that she sounds insincere, but all politicians do. Or most of them do, at least. So, I don't know.
That we, as Americans, could imagine, which is the freedom to literally make decisions about your own body. And on some issues, I think we've got to agree that partisanship should be put aside. And I'll close with this point. I know it is possible because when you look at the midterms, in so-called red states and so-called blue states, when this issue of freedom was on the ballot, the American people voted for freedom.
And it's always like a deference to the authority of the crowd. You know, it's never like a confident this is good or this is bad. The American people have made a choice. You should say what is right or wrong. Like your moral authority is one of the things that people are deciding on when they vote for you.
Considering you have been in the position of vice president for the past 4 years under the Biden administration, how can we expect you to deviate from the direction of that administration compared to your own? How can we differentiate your policy and your beliefs from that of Biden's?
That's a great question, and thank you. Well, first of all, my administration will not be a continuation of the Biden administration. I bring to this role my own ideas and my own experience. I represent a new generation of leadership on a number of issues and believe that we have to actually take new approaches. For example, what we talked about in terms of housing. My experience that leads to that priority includes what I did to take on the big banks around the foreclosure crisis when I brought billions of dollars to homeowners that were the subject of predatory lending. I know what home ownership means to the American people, not to mention what it meant to my mother, who worked very hard and saved up so that by the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. I bring to it...
It's never like, you know what she can't be? A straight shooter. And that's the thing that bothers me. She can't say, I believe this, he believes that. It can never be that. It's always like, well, what's the difference between Joe Biden and I? Well, I've had a different life experience. Okay, in what way has that life experience led you to have different positions than him? Because just gesturing at different things you've done, everyone's done different things. Everyone's, like, in their life has gone through different paths. That doesn't mean you'd be different as a president. That just means that you're a different human being, which we already knew. You're a different human being.
My experience actually taking care of my mother when she was sick, and it was, as it turned out, dying.
And like stuff like this, man. I get it. Yes, well, you're a human being. I understand. Thank you. It just comes across as so insincere and canned. Like, it just makes me roll my eyes. And I know that I might be more cynical than the average voter, though honestly, not by much these days. Everyone's pretty fucking cynical. It's just like, yeah. You're cynical as fuck. Yeah, but go talk to the average voter and, like, ask them how they feel, right? I think everyone's cynical.
Dying from cancer. And so I know what it means and have the experience of taking care of an elderly relative, and I have raised children. And so I bring to my priorities and will, as president, a new approach and a new idea, frankly, about what we need to do to deal with the sandwich generation, which is what we call those folks who are literally in the middle, who are raising their young children and taking care of their parents, which is why my plan and approach says, hey, you shouldn't have to wipe out all your savings to qualify for Medicaid to be able to get support to hire somebody to help you cook for your parent or help them put on a sweater. I've done that. I know what that requires. You shouldn't have to quit your job in order to do the work that is necessary to take care of your children and your parent, because it's overwhelming to try to do it all. And so my plan is to have and allow Medicare to cover the cost of home health care for our seniors. These are a couple of examples, including what we talked about in terms of price gouging. And what we need to do in addition, and it's a new approach that I think it's well overdue, let's invest in the small businesses of America. You
might notice, by the way, that she's not talking about ways in which she's different from Biden. She's just talking about the keynote, like, policy positions of her administration. But those aren't the same. Saying you're different would require for you to say, so the implication in the answer here is, by you saying you think such and such, like senior care or whatever, that Biden doesn't believe in that. Like, the implication to the statement here is, oh, I believe this should be the thing. Biden thinks your elderly should rot and die, uncovered. The question isn't what will you do, it's what makes you different. All of this could be the same as if Biden was running again. He would say, here are my policy goals for the next administration, you know, for the next 4 years. It doesn't speak to any difference.
The woman who helped raise us was a small business owner. I know who small business owners are. I know what they do. They are the backbone of America's economy. And for too long, we've overlooked.
How do we help people care about the outcomes and the stakes rather than them caring about energy being straightforward? You can't. The natural state of the human mind is good, but retarded. You can't. That's politics. It has always been that way. It has always been like energy over substance, and now more so than ever. It used to be substance mattered more, but energy was still very important. Now energy is all that matters. And Democrats don't understand this.
Value to the economy as a whole, much less to the economy of neighborhoods and communities. So that's why my plan, and it's a new approach, is about tax cuts for our small businesses so that they can invest in themselves and grow, and in the process invest in communities, invest in neighborhoods, and strengthen our economy overall. So those are some examples. It's about a new approach, a new generation of leadership based on new ideas and, frankly, different experiences. I bring a whole set of different experiences to this job and the way I think about it than Joe Biden.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done.
See, this is a tacit admission from her that she isn't different from Biden. There's always more to do. So it could have just been Biden's second term then. Like, there's no line. There's no, I'm different, here are my different priorities. It's just a continuation of the same priorities. Lyndon B. Johnson didn't have to deal with this shit, man. He had some energy. What's wrong with small business tax cuts? All small business owners are evil.
That haven't been done, but need to be done. And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are still problems that we need to fix.
I want you to meet Jackson Weiss. He's a student at Drexel University from Flourtown, Pennsylvania. Registered Republican. Says he's leaning toward voting for you, but has yet to make up a final decision. Jackson.
Thank you, Anderson.
Hey, Jackson.
Thank you for taking the time to be here, too, Vice President Harris.
Thank you.
Bring a jacket next
Regarding
time,
the
young man.
rapid increase in the migrant population, how will you ensure that every immigrant is integrated into American society safely? What benefits and subsidies will you provide them with? And how long will these benefits and subsidies last for an individual? Most importantly, will the American citizens' taxes pay for these benefits and subsidies? And if so, how much money will be allocated?
Yeah, this is like Hitler posting. Like, could you let us know how many accommodations you will provide to the Jew? Like, I'm being very uncharitable to this young man. He's probably like 5 years old. He showed up in his dad's shirt and tie. Maybe he's being like sincere here. It does sound very much like you're trying to put her in a position to either endorse deportations or say, yes, I want to spend $50 trillion giving every Mexican like a free car, you know?
Well, thank you,
I don't
Jackson.
know.
Let's start with this. America's immigration system is broken and it needs to be fixed. And it's been broken for a long time. And part of what we need to do is always prioritize what we need to do to strengthen our border. I will tell you, I'm the only person in this race among the two choices
Has
that
gone
voters
after
have.
transnational
I've
criminal
personally
organizations.
prosecuted transnational criminal organizations in the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career making sure that our border is secure and that we do not allow criminals in and we don't allow that kind of trafficking to happen and come into our country. And as my opponent has proven himself, he would prefer to run on the problem instead of fix the problem. You may know there were some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress working with others that came up with a border security bill that would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border. Those border agents are overwhelmed. They need the support. They need the backup. It would have allowed us to have more resources.
It's so crazy for her to continue with this messaging even after like multiple groups representing Border Patrol and such saying like, fuck you, we want Trump, we want to kill the Mexicans.
To stem the flow of fentanyl.
Oh yeah, also notice how she's not answering the question at all. Like even remotely. Like she's just doing the standard stump speech here. Like the question was, what will you do to help immigrants immigrate or like integrate into society? Not being answered.
I don't need to tell this state and people around the country what is happening in terms of the scourge of fentanyl and how it is literally killing Americans. It would have put resources into stemming the flow. It would have given more resources to prosecute, to investigate and prosecute transnational criminal organizations. It would have done a lot of good. Donald Trump got wind of the bill and told them, don't put it forward. He killed the bill because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. We have to have a secure border, and we have to have a comprehensive pathway for citizenship. And that includes requiring people, hardworking people, to earn citizenship and do it in a comprehensive, humane, and orderly manner.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, you talk about the bill that...
Yeah, it's not just like her stumping. It's that she only stump speeches. This is actually, like, unironically something that Trump does that's better, which is that Trump's stump speech is like a motherfucker. He can also ad-lib. Kamala Harris doesn't. The weird thing is she's good at it when she does it. She actually has, in the Fox interview, there were a couple moments that were obviously not scripted on her part, and she did a good job snap responding to them. But, like, if given the chance, she will only repeat the same few lines.
Donald Trump quashed, that was in 2024. You talk about the bill he tried to get passed in 2021. That wasn't able to get passed. 2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024...
it's just the way we talk about immigrants, man. Stem the flow. immigrants, like we always talk about immigrants in like a poison or like water, you know, a flood of immigrants, stem the flow of immigrants. Man, it's just people coming up here. Just people. It's not a wound. The country's strong. It hasn't weakened the country. It's not a disease.
Just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that had a dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration do that in 2022, 2023?
First of all, you're exactly right, Anderson. And as of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal immigration
but if
is
it was
low.
that easy with that executive...
See, they talk about it like they're tourniqueting a wound.
Action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem instead of a short-term fix.
You couldn't have done one and both at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action. Congress has the authority and the purse. I hate to use D.C. terms, but literally they write the checks. Part of the issue is in order to really fix the problem at the border. I was just at the border recently talking with border agents. You know what they talk about? Yes, they are overwhelmed. They're working around the clock. And the other thing that they talk to me about, we need more judges down there to deal with asylum claims. We need more personnel down there to deal with processing. But Anderson, and that's where Congress kicks in terms of dedicating the resources to actually fixing the problem. We have dealt with it such that, to your point, we now, as of today, as of our visit, have lower undocumented immigrants and illegal immigration than Trump when he left office.
That's true.
But we need a permanent solution, and that requires bipartisan work.
Do you wish you'd done those executive orders in 2022, 2023?
I think we did the right thing, but the best thing that can happen for the American people is that we have...
People ask me sometimes, stupidly, because they're 5 years old, if I would ever consider being a politician. No, obviously. God, think about it. But, like, the main problem with being a politician is that as soon as you become one, it's actually illegal to answer a question directly.
Bipartisan work happening, and I pledge to you that I will work across the aisle to fix this long-standing problem. I think the American people are demanding it on both sides of the aisle, and it's time we actually put the partisan approach to this aside. We know what can work.
Well, let's talk about this compromise bill that you want to pass if you're elected. You said that's going to be a priority. It includes $650 million in funding for the border wall. That's something Republicans wanted. That was part of the compromise. Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
This is like straight up a Joker question. Like, I'm sorry, the question is correct. Just the answer, the only answer that she can provide. This is what you get! This is what you get when you mix a politician who disingenuously signals progressive immigrant rhetoric with a party and political climate that made them feel like they needed to move to the right in the subject.
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that?
Yeah, that was the problem with the border wall, that Mexico didn't pay for it. That's true.
Wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing.
That's man, I said that Donald Trump, he sure didn't. He sure didn't do a good enough job building the wall. That idiot taking credit for Obama's section of the wall. That's true.
To a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it. And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem.
The problem, AKA immigration. Literally, like 2024 Democrats or 2016 Republicans. Literally, like Kamala Harris, how do you respond to accusations that you have completely flip-flopped on the viability of the border wall and on anti-immigrant policy in general? Well, you know, actually stemming the tide of immigrants that are bleeding into our country like a disease, it's a bipartisan problem.
You're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under
It's not ideological.
Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I'm not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything.
Oh my! Ooh. I think the problem with Trump's border wall is that his way of doing it was ineffective. My border wall was going to be much more effective. Again, if we lose this election, you know who to blame. I'm not blaming Republicans for this one. You know what they are. The disease is the disease. It's insane, man. Does she stand for literally anything? None of them do. Trump is Hitler. This is why my main problem with him is that he didn't build the gas chambers correctly. Literally, that's this town hall. That's this town hall. Yeah, I think Trump is a fascist, a deranged fascist. Yeah, I think that he's evil. But yeah, like, it's not ideology, right? You know, his anti-immigrant policies are just sensible. That's great, man.
I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it.
Why do people keep accusing Democrats of being insincere?
This is Annalise Keene. She's from Philadelphia. She works as a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity. She's registered with no party affiliation. She says she's a Democrat. She's leaning toward voting for you, but says she's yet to make her final decision in part because...
1 second. I gotta pee. Just let me out. Just a sec. The problem with blaming the Dems. Oh, Zigabiz has a problem with blaming the Dems for something. What a surprise.
because of the conflict in the Middle East. Annalise?
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Vice President.
Good evening.
My question is, as president, what would you do to ensure not another Palestinian dies due to bombs being funded by U.S. tax dollars?
So
Kamala's like, you know I can't give you an answer to this one. Kamala's like, you piece of shit.
I will say, and I think this is to your point, far too many innocent Palestinian civilians have been killed. It's unconscionable. And
who killed them? Out of curiosity, have been killed? Who killed them?
We are now at a place where with Sinwar's death, I do believe we have an opportunity to end this war, bring the...
But only now, like only after 50 billion Palestinians have been killed. Only like yesterday are we now in a good place to end the war.
Hostages home.
The 2 hostages and the 100 so mulched bodies home.
Bring relief to the Palestinian people and work toward a 2-state solution where...
That Netanyahu has specifically said he will never allow to come to pass. But we're not going to mention that because we don't want people to think that Israel is actively obstructing every effort at peace.
Israel and the Palestinians in equal measure have security, where the Palestinian people have dignity, self-determination, and the safety that they so rightly deserve.
What do you say?
So you're not going to do anything. So you even said anything. The question was, what would you do? And none of that answer said what you were going to do. Continue fighting for aid and an end to the fighting. Okay.
To voters who are thinking about supporting a third-party candidate or...
That was it? Not even a follow-up question? Okay.
On the couch, not voting at all because of this issue.
Oh, okay. It's relevant to the...
Listen, I am not going to deny the strong feelings that people have. I don't know that anyone who has seen the images who would not have strong feelings about what has happened, much less those who have
what has happened?
Relatives who have died and been killed. And I know people and have talked with people. So I appreciate that. But I also do know that for many people who care about this issue, they also care about bringing down the price of groceries. They also care about our democracy and not...
A tacit admission that they're not going to do anything. She's like, okay, I know you care about that and I get it, but like, I'm better than Trump on other issues. Not immigration, though. Not that one.
Having a president of the United States who admires dictators and is a fascist. They also care about the fact that we need practical, common sense solutions from a leader who is willing to work across the aisle on behalf of the American people and not themselves. They want a president who cares about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body, understanding that we're not trying to change anyone's belief, but let's not have the government telling women what to do with their body.
I want you to meet Beth Sandberg. She's a realtor, a mom of 4 from Bella Cynwyd, Pennsylvania. She's a registered Democrat, says she's undecided because of concerns about anti-Semitism. Beth?
So here's my guess. You've got a lot of passive language in the response to the person concerned about 1 billion Palestinians being slaughtered. I bet you're going to get a lot of active language here. This is my guess. I don't know for sure.
Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you,
Thank you for remembering we need to bring the hostages home.
Of course.
The rise of anti-Semitism and violence from anti-Semitism has risen greatly on college campuses and on our city streets in the last year. How
who's causing it? Source info?
would you combat this growing trend and protect our young adults?
Thank you.
Because the ADL defines being anti-Israel as being anti-Semitic. So in that context, like, I mean, anti-Semitism has risen. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think that's what you're referring to.
Beth, you are right, and I will say that we have seen a rise in anti-Semitism. It is something that we have to be honest about and we have to deal with. As Attorney General, I actually published a hate...
Sounds like you want Trump to win. It sounds like you want the YouTube pundits that you listen to lie to you, to make you feel like your choice and vote is like the morally upstanding, you are voting in like an angel sent from the heavens kind of argument, as opposed to me not lying to you and acknowledging that Kamala Harris fucking sucks, but is not as bad as Trump. What do you want from me? If Trump wins, I'm blaming everyone who wanted to sit out and vote third party, but I hate people who vote third party or sit out. Sounds like you want Trump to win because you're trying to make me angry at liberals, which makes me less likely to want to vote for Kamala Harris. Actually, if anything, you're the disinfo agent.
Crimes report. On a regular basis, and anti-Semitism was among the highest forms of hate in our country, and this was before October 7. And we know what we've seen since. Part of what we've got to do is talk with people so that they understand what are the tropes, what are the roots of what we are seeing, so that we can actually have people be more understanding. We need to have laws in place.
Oh, look, a leftist not being able to acknowledge or reconcile any of the unhinged conduct happening at pro-Palestinian protests. First of all, how do you have a tier 4 sub? Second of all, yeah, you mean all of the, like, Zionists who were attacking the peaceful encampments at UCLA for multiple days while police stood by and watched? Or do you mean at UCLA like the Zionist agitators who were going onto the campus to start fights and were, like, seen literally shaking hands with the LAPD on the way out? What unhinged conduct are you referring to exactly? Hamas is coming signs? Literally, who gives a shit, man? The entire fucking government and the college campuses that were doing that, the colleges themselves, are all, like, unilaterally in favor, or sorry, not unilaterally, like, collectively in favor of the genocide of the Palestinians. Is that serious? Like, oh, you know, what about all the unhinged anti-American rhetoric happening on college campuses during the Vietnam War? You have people with, like, pro-Viet Cong signs. Get the fuck over yourself. Hamas is coming. Yeah, man, that's, like, definitely in the environment in which we find ourselves. Like, this is definitely the rising tide. Jesus Christ.
That make those who would commit crimes on behalf of anti-Semitism and hate, that they pay a serious consequence. We need to have the deterrence so that doesn't happen. We need to ensure that college students are safe in their school and feel safe to be able to go to class. But I'm going to tell you what doesn't help. Again, I invite you to listen. And
you missed a super racist comment from this person? From Basis 108? Or a different person? People dressed as Hamas militants? Do you mean people in the cafes? By chance? Whatever. Oh, wait, that's all you've chatted this entire month? Waiting for Vosh to discover uncommitted are exactly the same people he's railing against for voting third party. Your only time posting in September was shit-talking the uncommitted movement? You're just a damn Zionist, man. You're just a fascist. How do you have a tier 4 sub? Watch the video, 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 watch the video. If she did capitulate to the hecklers, she would basically be the same as capitulating to the same ilk of people who are carrying Hamas's coming signs 2 weeks ago. Is this all you care about? This is the only thing you're... Yes, the uncommitted people are demons. Watch the Channel 5 doco on them. You're insane! Mossad paying out big dollars if their agents can afford to get tier 4 subs to more effectively spread this info. They're a tier 4 colonizer, that's true. Advocating Biden to drop out is easily your most brain-dead take in recent history. There's no evidence replacing Biden with another candidate would improve Dems' chance of winning in November. Advocating Biden drop out is hysterical liberal shit. There's zero evidence replacing Biden would achieve the outcome you desire. At what point do you, like, consider whether or not your processes are the problem? Based? Brother. That's just embarrassing. The Chad move would have been to acknowledge fault. You can't do that. There's nothing more embarrassing than when a person is wrong but proudly. I love my old takes. Yeah, because, like, you have no honor. You're spineless. The strong spine can withstand impact. You wiggle out of it like jelly. I have no respect for you. Goodbye forever.
Go online to listen to John Kelly, the former chief of staff of Donald Trump, who has told us, Donald Trump said, why aren't my generals like those of Hitler's? Like Hitler, who has referred several times, we've heard the reports for years.
Do you believe Donald Trump is anti-Semitic?
I believe Donald Trump is a danger to the well-being and security of America.
He has said that he's casting himself as a protector.
Wait, but you just implied that he was anti-Semitic by saying he spoke positively about Hitler. Why would you then not commit? Do you believe in anything? Why can't you just say yes?
Of Israel, do you believe you would be more pro-Israel than Donald Trump?
I believe that Donald Trump is dangerous.
Oh, my God.
I believe that when you have a president of the United States who has said to his generals who work for him because he is commander-in-chief, these conversations, I assume many of them took place.
What? It won't let me cancel my subscription, so you just subscribe to me again? Basis 108? That sounds like a damn skill issue to me.
In the Oval Office. And if the president of the United States, the commander-in-chief, is saying to his generals, in essence, why can't you be more like Hitler's generals, Anderson? Come on. This is a serious.
Can we keep them? There's nothing that I respect less than inauthentic trolls, okay? If you have to engage earnestly, but if you say retarded shit and then it's like, oh, you were wrong, and they're like, no, I wasn't, actually, it's based. Actually, I was right. Like, that's just boring.
Issue. And we know who he is. He admires dictators, sending love letters back and forth with Kim Jong-un. Talks about the president of Russia, and then most recently, the reports are that in the height of COVID, when most Americans could not get their hands on a COVID test, Americans were dying by the hundreds a day. He secretly sent COVID tests to the president of Russia for his personal use.
I do hate her, like, the way she speaks here. It's every sentence is like, she's pleading with you to understand her point, you know? Like, man.
So, again, this election in 13 days is presenting the American people with a very significant decision. And on the one side, on this issue of who is going to model what it means to use the bully pulpit of the President of the United States in a manner that in tone, word, and deed is about lifting up our discourse, fighting against hate, as opposed to fanning the flames of hate, which Donald Trump does consistently.
Her cadence was not this bad in August. No, it wasn't. Again, like, I'm telling you, DNC strategists and consultants have been like, you need to be more passive, more whiny. Thanks.
I'm going to tell you, we are an incredible country, and we love our country. Y'all wouldn't be here unless we love our country.
Thanks.
And there are certain things where we've just got to come together and realize that we do believe in the importance of healthy debate on real issues, but there are certain standards we've got to have. And, you know, another point that even John Kelly talked about.
Again, there are certain standards we've got to have. It's not a matter of what's right or wrong. It's a matter of whether or not you're failing the institution. This is like the liberal brain rot, you know? It's not about whether or not he's Hitler or a fascist or whatever. We just have to meet certain standards of discourse, you know? Your problem is not that you're wrong and evil. Your problem is that you've fallen below the standards of civil discourse. You know, you are not invited to the function. Technocrats at the end of the day, yeah.
I believe, and many have, is January 6th, where you have the President of the United States defying the will of the people in a free and fair election and unleashing a violent mob who attacked the United States Capitol. 140 law enforcement officers were attacked. Some were killed. And so I say that to say the American people deserve to have a president who encourages healthy debate, works across the aisle, not afraid of good ideas wherever they come from, but also maintains certain standards about how we think about the role and the responsibility, and certainly not comparing oneself in a clearly admiring way to Hitler.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll have more from the CNN.
More, like, just better standards, man. Really makes you wonder about all the rhetoric they used in, like, the Weimar Republic, you know? Also, yeah, keep in mind, like, one of the bits they tried testing with her in running against Trump is, like, she's the prosecutor, he's the felon. Does she sound like a prosecutor to you? Does she sound like she's here to bring down the law on this reckless fascist dipshit? It's pathetic.
You made after President Biden announced that he was dropping out was to your pastor. And I'm wondering, if it wasn't a confessional, if you could say what that conversation was like.
Well, my pastor.
One of the first phone calls you made after President Biden announced that he was dropping out was to your pastor. Right. And I'm wondering, if it wasn't a confessional, if you could say what that conversation was like.
Well, my pastor, Reverend Dr. Amos C. Brown of Third Baptist Church.
Wow.
It was an extraordinary day that Sunday when the president called me, and I instinctively understood the gravity of the moment, the seriousness of the moment. I didn't predict or know exactly how that day would play out, and obviously now it's been 3 months since I've been at the top of the ticket, actually 3 months as of yesterday. But I just called him. I needed that spiritual kind of connection. I needed that advice. I needed a prayer. And there's a part of the scripture that talks about Esther. She also does take forever to say everything. And a time such as this, and that's what we talked about. And it was very comforting for me. And
do you pray every day?
I do pray every day. I do pray every day, sometimes twice a day. I grew up, so we grew up a little neighborhood church in Oakland, 23rd Avenue Church of God, and I was raised.
Just get to the next question. I don't care.
Let's go to the voters. I want you to meet Joe Donahue from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He works in customer service for a local retailer. He serves as a local election official. He's a registered Republican who says he's undecided, doesn't agree with your stance on abortion, but he is concerned about what he calls Trump's demeanor and actions on January 6th. Joe?
Thank you, Madam Vice President, and thank you, Anderson. Madam Vice President, everybody as human beings, we're not perfect. We have our flaws. We make mistakes.
Maybe for
we
you.
have our weaknesses.
Maybe for you.
And the office of the presidency can sometimes bring those weaknesses out in ways that the incumbent may not expect. What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
That's a great question, Joe. Well, I am certainly not perfect, so let's start there. And I think that perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me who bring to my decision-making process different perspectives. My team will tell you, I am constantly saying...
This is really the best thing you could come up with. My weakness as a candidate is that I intend to appoint a presidential cabinet. Oh, you're right. It's quite the game changer.
Let's kick the tire on that. Let's kick the tires on it. Because, listen, as I mentioned earlier, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a courtroom prosecutor. I've tried everything from low-level offenses to homicides. And I learned at a very early stage of my career and adult life that my actions have a direct impact on real people in a very fundamental way. When I was Attorney General of California, I was Attorney General of what is the 5th largest economy in the world, and acutely aware that my words could move markets. So I take my role and responsibility as an elected leader very seriously, and I know the impact it has on so many people I may never meet. And that is why I engage and bring folks around. So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess. And some might call that a weakness, especially if you're, in an interview or just kind of, being asked a certain question and you're expected to have the right answer right away. But that's how I work.
I don't think I've ever heard the former president admit a mistake. A lot of politicians don't. Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, you know, if you've ever parented a child, you know you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to.
Have you ever made any mistakes? Well, here's the thing that I did that isn't a mistake, but if I hadn't done it, it would have been a mistake. It's like me asking me if I ever made a mistake. Yeah, the one time I doubted myself.
Answer a question.
Get me up there.
I want you to meet Pam Thistle. She's from Winmore, Pennsylvania. She's a realtor. She's a widow. Her husband, Mike, died just a year ago. She has two daughters in college. She registered with no party affiliation and says she's undecided. She has concerns about how you would handle the economy. Pam?
Thank you. And thank you, Anderson. And
a realtor who has concerns about how she would run the economy. Okay.
Happy belated birthday to.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank you. Yes. And I'm really appreciative for you to be here and get to know you. When you talk about rich people paying their fair share,
oh my God,
can you be more specific?
I love how, like, the lazy stereotyping that I sometimes engage in along class lines almost always turns out to be accurate. It's because it's like, from our perspective, from the top down, from like the golden, like, ivory tower of, you know, critical theory and Marxist, you know, historical materialism. It's like, oh, well, obviously she's going to ask, you know, about whether or not she should really have to pay like 36% marginal income upper tax on the $650,000 she makes doing realtor work. On the ground, I feel like it might be like a magic trick, but like it's just so consistently true.
Income taxes are already on a graduated scale where the
Yeah. We don't have a flat tax. That's true. That is how all tax systems work, basically.
more you make, the higher percentage you pay in taxes. So the rich are paying a disproportionate amount in taxes as it is.
With editor's note, this is the way all tax systems work. It has worked in this way in the United States forever. The upper marginal income tax is lower than it was back in like previous decades. It used to be a lot higher.
Over 40% of Americans don't pay any income taxes. Also, the really high earners may move their money offshore if there are disincentives in the U.S. This could
that should be like hiding tax money from the IRS is illegal. There are loopholes. They should be closed.
Impact the economy. I would like to hear more nuts and bolts about your economic plans.
Sure. Thank you, Pam. So first of all, it is the case in the United States of America that billionaires on average pay less taxes as a percentage than teachers and firefighters and nurses.
I'm talking about hard workers like pound the street, have some success.
Yes, no.
Like you. Oh, not like the billionaires, like you, the humble realtor.
No, I understand, but I want to just let's set the scene, right?
Yeah.
So when I say that the richest among us need to pay their fair share, I am referencing that, and I need to reference that because sadly, Donald Trump, when he was president, gave tax cuts to the richest, to billionaires and big corporations, which added trillions of dollars to our deficit. So
it really is crazy, by the way, that the upper what's the income rate where the final marginal tax rate begins? Isn't it fucking wild that the highest bracket is only like what is it, like 700,000? What's the highest bracket? 400K? What? I don't know. I'm not a finance guy. 626K? That might be for married. Like, the uppermost bracket begins there. Which is crazy. Like, there should be more brackets. 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. Like, why the fuck does it end there? That's insane. Like, oh yeah, we need to be really granular about how much in federal income tax people are paying, from like being very poor to kind of poor to sort of poor to medium to a little bit wealthy to a lot wealthy to like doing pretty well. And then from that all the way up to being a billionaire, you just pay the same amount. Well, not really, because they like find ways around paying their taxes, but.
So that sadly needs to be said in a way that should be obvious to your point, but is not given what he did. Now, in terms of what we need to do to bring down taxes, I have pledged and have a plan for a middle-class tax cut that would affect 100 million Americans, including, for example, what we will do around small businesses. In terms of tax deductions, in terms of what small businesses are now being mired in terms of a bureaucracy around they have to fill out and do their taxes in a way that actually holds them back. Part of my plan includes extending a middle-class tax cut that would include a $6,000 tax cut, essentially a child tax credit for parents and young parents in particular, knowing that the vast majority of our parents have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources. So this is going to include an extra amount of just money that people can use to pay for childcare, which is far too expensive for too many working families. And part of the issue here is this. We cannot, and I will not, raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 a year. But we do need to take seriously the system that benefits the richest and does not help out working middle-class Americans. I come from the middle class, and I believe that the middle class needs tax breaks to be able to actually not just get by, but get ahead.
So you're saying, well, what you're saying is anyone under 400,000 won't have taxes raised. Are you saying that anyone above 400,000 will have a tax raise?
I'm saying that there is going to be
that would be the natural like corollary to that statement.
A parity around what the richest people pay in terms of their taxes.
Why can't you ever just answer something directly, dude? The fact that you want to raise taxes for people making 400K or more is well known. It's on your website. Just say it. You can't ever answer with a yes or no. Just say yes. Yes, you will pay more in taxes if you're making like $500,000 a year. Just say it.
Right now, Anderson, you know, the document, it is well documented that some of the richest people in our country have gotten away with a zero tax rate.
But if you're earning $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 under your plan, there's a good chance your taxes go up.
We can't have this conversation.
Little dude! People in chat are like, she said it. Then why is she acting like this? Why are you fucking allergic? Trump can just say anything he wants at any town hall. Nobody gives a shit. And you can't give any answer because you're terrified of like the Washington Post op-eds or whatever, where they're like, I can't believe Kamala Harris said that she would do the policy that her website said she would do. Biden was able to clearly answer this in the 2020 debates. Yeah, Biden was better with this. There were questions that he was able and willing to directly answer, like with a yes, Jack. She can't do this with anything.
Without knowing it's a very complicated situation, right? If you're talking
it's not complicated. You want to raise taxes for the 400K or more. That's not that complicated. It's pretty simple, actually. Marginal income tax brackets, not actually that complicated. Pretty simple.
A small business owner, I'm going to cut taxes for small businesses, right? Because I know that they need the overhead, the money that they need for overhead to actually benefit the growth of their business, which benefits our economy as a whole.
Let's go to, actually, you know, I want
maybe this will get me to like license my business finally, rather than operating as a fucking sole proprietor. Maybe it's time. Got to benefit from those tax benefits. Yeah, time, the Voosh LLC, V.LLC. It's time.
I want to reference something that about Pam. Pam, we mentioned her husband Steve died a year ago. You've talked about your mom, yeah. KAMALA Harris, who died 15 years ago. What has grief been like for you?
World War II America top marginal tax bracket peaked at 94% and stayed high during recovery. Yeah, you mean the in the good reality, back when we like built things in this country? The top marginal tax rate during the Gilded Age was nothing, and then the Great Depression, well, World War I, the Great Depression, and and then up here, World War II begins. We get involved in World War II. 81, 88, 88, 94, 94, 82, 82, 84, blah, 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 blah. And then we get down to the 70 and the 60s, all the way up until 1980, 1981, and then, Reagan, well, wait, 1983, yeah, 83, 84, 85, 38, 28, blah. Highway robbery. We used to have a real country. What was the top, what I'm curious about though, what was the top marginal cutoff relative to the median income of the time? Like right now, the top cutoff is at like 400K or something like that, which isn't that much in the context of like people above the median income rate. Probably like 1 in 10, maybe 1 in 9 Americans make 400K or more. I'm ballparking that. Maybe that's totally off. I wonder like what proportion of Americans hit the top marginal rate back in say 1955. There were a lot more loopholes. It was really easy to get around. Yeah, I would have to look into it. This is probably like a super granular, complicated such and such. There need to be more brackets.
Yeah, you don't stop grieving. You don't stop grieving. I mean, I think that there is, there are like two sides to a coin when you have lost somebody you love. Or that two sides to a coin, that phrase becomes evident, which is if you have had the blessing of a close and important relationship with someone, then when you have that, the other side of the coin is that when you lose them, the grief becomes even deeper. But I also believe that, for example, anyone who has lost a family member through cancer or an illness, my mother died from cancer, it is important to try and remember them as they lived.
Me, when I've spent 2 days as a CS undergrad programming a robot to mimic human grief behavior and then ask it how it would feel if its mom died.
And not as they died, because the grief can really weigh you down. I think the brain has a way of, when you're grieving, really spiraling down, and it's important, I think, to try and remember
grief is worse when you care more about them.
In a way they'd want to be remembered.
And we are back with Vice President Kamala Harris. I want you to meet Rob McPherson. He's the Chief Marketing Officer for a local organization. He's registered Republican from Media, Pennsylvania, who told us he's leaning towards voting for you, but has concerns about what he calls shifts in your policy positions. Rob?
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Vice President Harris. So welcome to Delco.
Thank you.
Here in Delco, we pride ourselves on being authentic.
Yeah.
And much of what we have seen, much of what you've been saying with regard to issues like law and order and fracking reflect a more centrist view than what people are used to hearing from Kamala Harris, leaving some voters to wonder about the authenticity of your current, more moderate positions.
Bitch got clocked.
Can you talk a little bit about how your positions have shifted and why?
Sure, and thank you. So first of all, on fracking, I've been very clear. We kind of dispensed with this in 2020. I am not going to ban fracking. I did not as vice president. In fact, as vice president, I cast the tie-breaking vote that now has opened up more fracking leases. My value on the issue of what we need to do to invest in a clean energy economy and a clean energy future has not changed. But frankly, I now have the experience and perspective of having been vice president for almost 4 years. I've traveled the country. I know that we can invest in a clean energy economy and still not ban fracking and still work toward what we need to do to create more jobs and create U.S.-based jobs in a way that will be globally competitive. On the issue of law and order, as you mentioned,
I mean, again, like we know the answer. She can't admit this one because it would sound bad, but like she changed her position because she was lying. She was either disingenuously progressive then and has had to moderate to be VP, or she was being authentic back then and was like made to be moderate in order to be VP. That's it.
I think there's just a whole lot of misinformation, to be honest with you. I have personally prosecuted very serious crime.
Okay.
It's how I started my career. I spent most of my career as a prosecutor.
She needs the PA voters. That shit is such a scam, dude. You know that transitioning to green energy would bring way, way, way more jobs than like how many people are employed in fracking? How many people employed by fracking PA? 20 years after Pennsylvania's first shale gas well was drilled, jobs comprise less than 1% of the workforce. Don't fool yourself. It's not about jobs in Pennsylvania. It's about fossil fuel companies and the propaganda that everyone in Pennsylvania works in fracking. What the fuck? I had no idea it was that small. Yeah, they really don't let you know that, do they? They really want you to believe that, like, Pennsylvania's economy is entirely built on fracking. It's not.
Not in Washington, D.C. And as my first priority had and
What's it built on? Wawa? Yes.
Remains as a first priority to me, the safety of the American people. So that has not changed. And sadly, I think that there's a bit of misinformation, if not more than a bit. But I'm glad that you raised the subject so that I can address it. But just if you don't mind, just let me just finish. Because I think the spirit of your question is really important, and I'm glad you raised it. Our country deserves to have a president of the United States who is not afraid of good ideas and does not stand on pride.
So this like little canned speech bit of hers is just her saying like, I will flip-flop and you will get used to it. Oh, me like disingenuously supporting ending fracking, Green New Deal, Medicare for all before and now not doing it. That's me not being afraid of good ideas because I'm not prideful. I'm not prideful. I'll change my position to whatever the lobbyists tell me to believe.
A perspective needs to be informed by different points of view to build consensus and to have a common sense approach. I'm never going to shy away from good ideas. And I'm not going to feel the need to have pride associate with a position that I've taken when the important thing is to build consensus to fix problems. I believe in fixing problems. I love fixing problems. And so I pledge to you to be a president who not only works for all Americans, but works on getting stuff done. And that means compromise. And it doesn't mean compromising your values or your principles, but it does mean working to get stuff done. And I pledge to you I will do that.
Just to be clear, though, what he's referring to, and you point out, too, when you're running for vice president in 2020, you were not talking about banning fracking, but...
No, Anderson, I pledge that I would not ban fracking.
Right, I know. You said you would not ban fracking.
Correct.
You know, you had said in the 2019 town hall, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. In 2017, you talked about Medicare for all. You talked about 2019, you raised a hand in debate about if border crossings should be decriminalized. Are all of those issues, which those are not your positions now?
I'm not allergic to good ideas. Me shifting to the right consistently on every issue. There are no issues in which I've shifted to the left. Me shifting to the right on every single issue that you can think of. I've been taught there are good ideas. I just want good.
All those issues that you're saying through consensus and getting stuff done, you have evolved on?
Well, no, let's take, for example, the issue of Medicare. My point has always been that access to health care should not just be a privilege of those who can afford it. It should be a right for all people. So that is
almost like a kind of Medicare for all deal, but that's not what she's about to advocate for, because that would be, you know, that'd be too good of an idea.
This is why I have worked on doing what we have done to, one, allow Medicare to negotiate against the big pharmaceutical companies to bring down the cost of prescription medication. We've achieved that in terms of capping the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, capping the cost of annual prescriptions at $2,000 a year for seniors. But my plan moving forward, based on that very principle that I've always had, is as president, to have that cap be for everyone and not just for our seniors. The work that I have done that has been about recognizing the importance of dealing with border security, that has never changed. As I said, I have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations. That I did for years before I ever ran in 2019.
I mean, you did raise your hand saying in a debate when asked if border crossing should be decriminalized, but obviously that is not your position.
I never intended, nor will I ever allow America to have a border that is not secure. I believe.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Man. It's just everything has gotten so much worse since 2016, man. The Republicans have moved to fucking Nazi shit. The Democrats are on 2016 Republican positions. Ratchet effect in full force.
I believe we need to deal with illegal immigration. There needs to be consequences, which is why part of my plan that I have outlined, and again, please go to KAMALAHarris.com. Sorry to throw a website on you, but why not? And you will see that part of my plan includes what we need to do to actually do more as it relates to putting resources in, including increasing penalties for illegal crossing.
And just finally on fracking, you said you're clear you would not ban it as president.
No, I would not ban it as president.
Right, I know you're clear on that. Do you think it is bad for the environment, though?
I think that we have proven that we can invest in a clean energy economy.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
We can mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. We can work on and sustaining what we need to do to protect this beautiful earth of ours.
I feel like he could literally say, ExxonMobil has accused you of believing climate change is real. Do you believe climate change is real? And she would go like, I'm not afraid of good ideas. When I was a small child, I was raised by a mother. My mother was also not afraid of good ideas. I am the only candidate to have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations.
And not ban fracking.
And not ban fracking.
Manager for the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, registered Democrat who says she's leaning towards supporting you, has yet to make her final decision. Tanisha, welcome.
Thank you, Anderson. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for joining us this evening. I appreciate that you did acknowledge that we are a country that is faced with problems and issues. With the Supreme Court being plagued with issues, would you be in favor of expanding the court to, say, 12, so each justice has only one circuit court other than Chief Justice to assist in making judgments more balanced?
She's not going to say yes, of course, because that'd be based.
Well, to your point, there is no question that the American people increasingly are losing confidence in the Supreme Court. And in large part because of the behavior of certain members of that court and because of certain rulings, including the Dobbs decision and taking away a precedent that had been in place for 50 years, protecting a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. So I do believe that there should be some kind of reform of the court, and we can study what that actually looks like. But I do believe. But again, let's just, while you raise the point of the court, understand that, again, in 13 days, the American people will decide who is the next president of the United States.
Wow.
In 13 days, you will decide who is sitting in the Oval Office on January 20th. And on one hand, you have in Donald Trump someone who has increasingly proved himself to be unstable and who, as we have established and the people close to him have established, he is unfit to serve. Somebody who, on January 20th, you can be sure, will spend full time like we know, and we've seen the image mentally of him sitting in the dining room off of the Oval Office, watching for hours as people violently attack the Capitol. You can be sure, because he has said he would weaponize the Department of Justice to go after his political enemies, that you can look at a Donald Trump in the White House after January 20th, sitting in that Oval Office, plotting his revenge. He has talked about the enemies within. We haven't even raised that subject, Anderson. The enemies within. He's talking about the American people. He's talking about journalists, judges, nonpartisan election officials. He has talked about, as John Kelly has talked about, can he send the military after peaceful protesters? And he's going to sit there unstable, unhinged, plotting his revenge, plotting his retribution, creating an enemies list. I'm going to tell you, my list will be a list of how I address and continue to address the issues that you all are raising this afternoon and evening. It will be a to-do list about how we can impact the American people and lift up the American people and address some of the challenges.
Compare this to like any time Trump is asked questions and he just commits wholeheartedly to them. I mean, he shifts about and doesn't answer questions all the time, but if he's asked something pointed that would be like in line with the interests of his constituency, he usually commits to it pretty hard. He didn't even walk back the enemies within stuff. He doesn't walk back anything. Kamala Harris is embarrassed of having once supported a ban on fracking, Medicare for all. Dude, she was walking back her anti-border wall statements. That's how bad this has gotten. She's like, oh, me? Anti-border wall? Well, I just think it was silly when he said Mexico would pay for it, you know? Like, it's
challenges that we continue to face.
I want to get one last questioner in. This is Elkin Pleat. He's a student at Temple University, registered Democrat, leaning towards voting for you, has yet to make up his final decision. Elkin.
Hi. First of all, go Birds, and I'm from Danville, California.
Oh, hi, Elkin.
But
that is quite a damn broccoli cut. Look at that. God damn. That's like a pompadour almost for how much it's leaning forward.
question is, what is the proudest moment of your political career thus far, including when you were the AG?
Oh, that's a great one. I've actually had a few. One of them is I, as Attorney General of California, created what I named the Bureau of Children's Justice. And you may be familiar with that as a Californian. And it was because I believe that, frankly, we still have a lot to do in terms of policy that impacts children. And an investment in the children of our country is an investment in all of us and our future. And that work has actually produced significant results. That has been a proud moment for me. It was a proud moment for me to do the work that we've been doing that has addressed issues like maternal mortality. I mean, it's in response to an incredible tragedy, but lifting up that issue.
Walls would knock this answer out of the park. He would say like, yeah, while coming back home from a campaign event, there was a kid I saw that was about to stumble down the top step of a staircase, and I managed to, at the last second, like catch them. And I just remember that kid and how the parents smiled at me after. He would nail it with some like corny, like folksy, small town superhero, you know, like a Superman moment, basically.
Issue in a way that we agree that America should not.
You got mad earlier because she was telling anecdotal stories. Well, the problem is that her anecdotal stories suck. Is the main issue.
Have one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the world. So I have had the good fortune of, in my life as a public servant, knowing the impact that we can have. And I guess that is probably what motivates me most, because I know we can make a difference. I really do. And I do believe that the American people deserve a president who's going to be hardworking and, you know, will make mistakes from time to time, but is focused on you. And I think that is so fundamental in this election. So fundamental. You deserve a president. I believe the American people deserve a president who's saying, look, let's just be practical. Let's get things done. And let's not be afraid of having a little joy to the point of, you know, what gives you What makes you feel good about your work? Let's do it in a way that is grounded in optimism. You know, the thing that I think we all know about who we are as the American people, we are people who are ambitious. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We are inherently optimistic. Inherently optimistic. And I think people are exhausted with the idea that we're just going to be divided and angry instead of working on the problems and working together. And that's what motivates me, and that's what makes me proud when we're able to do that. So.
Vice President Kamala Harris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anderson.
And thanks for watching. Thanks to all the voters here. Be sure to join CNN on November 5th for Election Night in America right here on CNN.
Well, that was great. It's over. It's not necessarily over. Like, people are pretty entrenched and partisan whether or not they're on the right or the left. I mean, we're kind of locked in on this, I guess. It's just like, it's just so exhausting. It's so tiring, man. I just want something to believe in. That's it. I don't think any liberal politician is going to be like a savior or anything, but it would be nice to be optimistic, right? Like, I was decently optimistic with Biden with regards to union stuff, like labor, and he actually did a pretty good job. In spite of the hiccup with the railroad strike being cut, which he then later amended, he did a decent enough job, better than I expected. But like with, it's just, this is the difference, man. It's a question of energy. At the end of the day, whether, like, you live in a bubble where politics is a big part of your life. You talk about it, you think about it, you've got strong opinions on it. Most Americans aren't like that. Most people around the world aren't like that. They have their own life, their own ebb and flow. Politics intersects with it from time to time, and if they have the energy, if they're riled up on voting day, they go and they vote. And if you don't provide people any energy, there's no reason for them to vote. It does not matter whether or not your policies are better. Go look at the history of elections in this country and others and find me examples of times when the technical correctness of policy was what won the election for one candidate over the other. Oh, it happens sometimes. But is that the most powerful force? No. Sometimes that might be a tie decider. In reality, it's just energy. It's just energy, vibes, rhetoric. How effectively can you woo people up? It's not like edgy, nonsense to say that winning the presidency is a popularity contest, because it is literally a popularity contest filtered through the Electoral College, which is, fantastic. It's so frustrating. I hate liberals, man. I really do. I hate them because they're closer than they could be, If they were just Republicans, and it's like, okay, so they hate me. All right, fine, But then it's like you have liberals who are like constantly self-sabotaging. It's just so frustrating. Republicans do also some self-sabotage, just not in these ways. If you were going to ask her a question in this town hall, what would you ask? I wouldn't want to be there, because I know she can't provide me an answer. Like me, I could do two things. I could ask a real question she won't give an answer to, or I could ask like a puff piece question that she won't give an answer to. It's not like a legitimate format. I would be very interested in asking Donald Trump questions at a town hall, because he's nowhere near as coached as she is. I'd ask about Epstein. Absolutely, I'd ask about Epstein. 100%. It's just exhausting. You wouldn't be allowed to ask that question? Yeah, I know. Could just say it. Well, I'm depressed now. Yeah. No one cares. The rat fuckery has begun. Arizona ballots damaged after USPS collection box set ablaze in Demleading County. Wow, that's great. You ready? You ready for like a solid 2 weeks of this? That could actually impact the election. Yep. Oh, that's domestic terrorism. That's domestic terrorism in my U.S. election. Yep. More common than you think. Hit exclamation point PV if you want to help thin the margins a little bit. Seriously, you know, if you feel bad right now, I know that it may seem a little bit contradictory after complaining about Kamala Harris for 2 hours, but look, it's hard math, okay? Better her than Trump, all right? You want to touch grass? You want to meet up with local canvassing groups? Get that shit done. Progress.win/touchgrass. What can you even do about someone burning a ballot box like that? I don't know. There are probably like procedures for dealing with it, but arrest them. Well, of course, arrest the person who did it. But I mean, in terms of like restoring the ballots. It's in fucking Maricopa County too. It's like the most. It wasn't a segment, Benjamin. Why is this stream called Kamala? Why? What has she done now? Why are people who ask questions like that always entering streams like 2 minutes after the 2.5-hour segment on the subject, you know? That's just how I roll. I'm not gonna lie, I genuinely do not care about streaming anymore right now. I'm sorry. Oh man, dude, it's so annoying. I'm just gonna read donos. Whatever. How have I been here for 3 hours already? It's kind of obvious. Yeah. Listen, okay, I'm a creature of passion. All right, I'm like the French. Or something. Velcro Poodle and Dysfunctional Daisy, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Really appreciate that. I finally got talked to at work about playing your videos over the community speaker. Are you fucking insane? Jesus. Feston, thank you for the tier 1 sub. As an engineer, I give you my full blessing to tear into any ignorant/reactionary STEM people. They need to hear it. Thank you, but don't worry. I didn't feel as though I needed your permission. Crabbo Crab with the $5. I'll keep you personally responsible for losing the election. You haven't called enough people Nazis. Obviously, I'm joking. I wish y'all Yankees the best. Y'all Yankees. You think your country's any better? No, but let me dream. Yeah. Game streams anytime soon. What day is it today? Like day, not the date. Thursday. Have to see. Appalachian Atticus, thank you for the $5. Finally catching a live. Saw Emma on Majority Report shout you out and Hassan earlier as based. Here's Katsu the fat boy cuddling. Ooh. Fat boy. Not as fat as Artemy, but I give him the pass. Fat boy. Yasake, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. What kills me the most is that Kamala occasionally has genuine moments. If she was full DNC robot, I wouldn't feel so sad when the focus group spring lock snap. Literally, though, that is the most frustrating thing. One of the things that I genuinely liked and still do like about Biden is that he's not that focus grouped. When he talks, he pretty often says like off-the-cuff old man stuff. You know, Hillary Clinton was a full DNC robot. Everything she said was controlled, calculated, measured. She'd been in the game for way too long. But Kamala Harris hasn't really been in the game that long. Like, really? You know, she's relatively young. So sometimes she comes across as actually pretty genuine. There are videos of her interacting with people normally, and she actually comes across personable and charming. Donald Trump can do this as well. He has a stump speech, but like there are literally hundreds of moments of Trump on video being authentically charming. Of course he is. He was in entertainment for decades. Of course he has like natural charisma. And she does too. But she recesses back into that, you know, I'm just repeating the point. Derbsternium with the $50. So Dirty Break 2026? I have no idea what that means. Can someone in chat tell me what that means? Dirty Break 2026? No idea. I don't know, lol. Okay. Very helpful. We'll say no to the Dirty Break 2026 because I don't know what it means and I don't want to get myself in trouble. You know, I don't want to agree to something disagreeable. You understand. Safe choice. Yeah, I'm being cowardly. I hope so, Skynet. I hope so. Emma's really cool. People in YouTube chat are saying that apparently at some point Hassan compared me to Ethan Klein. I don't know if that's true. I also don't know how that could be true because that seems like the most wild comparison you could possibly make. I'm not really interested in the particulars of that, but if it's true, it's pretty funny. I don't believe them. I don't necessarily believe them either, but if it happened, it's pretty funny. Where do you get that? They're both men. Well, that's true. That's pretty true. Oh my god, you guys. You're hitting me with it. You're straight up dogging my ass with it. Straight shot with the $5. Those that stole 20 are about to steal 24. Think about it. I hope so. Millions of dead raccoons, thank you for the $10. Vosh, after the Trump-Hitler comments, I'm no longer confident that I'll be safe if he wins, and I'm convinced I need to repress being trans be safe. I can't give you the key to that. I can't give you the answer to that. But look, I don't think that forcible detransition is definitely like on the docket. I really don't think the Trump administration or the Vance administration or whatever is going to like arrest people for being trans. That seems unlikely to me. There is nowhere near the political capital necessary to go that route, you know? Maybe it'd be harder to get DIY HRT or whatever. I'm not really sure, but knocked Kronos the $5 about the Carlson speech. Were you ever spanked as a kid? I don't think so. Not that I can remember. Certainly my parents didn't make a habit of it. I remember a few times I got in trouble. Maybe it happened like once or twice, but I could be misremembering, and I might just remember like the concept of spanking being a thing. Yeah, I'm glad my parents didn't. Like, it doesn't do anything good. You know? Gorlax the $5. I'm a rancher and no one knows how expensive raising meat is. I know. It's way too cheap. Jeremy Barkin, thanks for the $2. No, I didn't talk about the Judge Cannon news. Emish, thank you for the $10. Someone needs to prep her for Tell Me About Yourself. She could certainly stand to be less boring about it, yeah. And Tyler James Newton, thank you for the $2. A Derpsturnian with the additional $50. Thank you very much. I mean, progressive third party in 2026 midterms, as many positions as possible. The problem with a third party is that they're not really, like, viable in a lot of elections because of the first past the post voting system. If you can get a third party candidate in a position where you're not, like, taking away from, you're not increasing the likelihood of a Republican winning, then sure, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's mostly just a matter of practicality. If you're risking a Republican winning, look, Candace the 2 pounds, Emma doesn't know what gooning is, that's probably for the best, you know? Not everyone needs to have the same amount of brain damage. It's okay to, like, distribute it a little bit. Spread it wide. Kowalski, thank you for the $5. That's true. The chicken nugget entertainment cycle. Sake, thanks the 5 tier 1 subs. Have you covered Pesto the chunky penguin? There's a baby king penguin who's already 46 pounds, bigger than most full-sized ones, as a 10-month-old chick. Damn! No, I have not covered that. What a good baby. And they're still like a little baby? Guys, it's literally me. This the shit Vosh would cover every stream if he was a real one? That's true. Mildly Muscular Mom, thank you for the D1 sub. Just adopted Orange Brothers. Here's hoping they don't argue over their shared brain cell. Ooh. Orange face. Ooh. Cute. 2 brothers. Oh yeah, they dumb. Oh yeah. I'm a mouse. I respect that. Max Stoner's Ego with the $5. Did you see that gay Canadian YouTuber JJ McCullough officially endorsed Kamala? Also, he's cute. Check him out. I don't think I'm familiar with this individual's content, but I feel like... Aren't they also a lib? I might be misremembering. But I'll keep your endorsement in mind, matchmaker. I'm also endorsing Kamala, by the way. Isn't he that shit Canadian? Ah, it seems people in chat don't like him, actually. Classical liberal? Ah. Well, MAGA's coming to Canada either way, so they'll be getting their taste of it. What is this clip? Ben Shapiro gets devoured on the causes of immigration. What's up, Ben? Unmute Twitter.
It's not about number. It's about the people who are coming in. I believe that everybody who comes into this country should come in through a legal mechanism, and that the United States ought to be able to select the people who are coming in, who are the best, brightest, and most useful to the American population, because that is the prerogative of any nation. So,
I mean, declaring migrancy is a legal process in accordance with international law. But the statement, like, I think that people should only be allowed in legally is kind of like a meaningless one, because the argument would then be, okay, what do you consider legally? Like, what policies do you think we should adopt in order to accommodate immigrants, to allow them in? You want only the best and the brightest? Okay, that's great and all, but, like, let's be real here. America is a relatively well-educated country. We also need a lot of manual workers. Like, people who don't have a college education are still economically productive. What are you going to do with a country with, like, 200 million CS graduates and no one who can use their hands?
do you think that the way that we do allow people in through...
Holy shit! This guy looks like he'd be on the front cover of a book written by a fascist YouTuber about the one white man that survives the downfall of society caused by Black Lives Matter, because he, like, has an AR-15 and has a, you know, like a take no shit attitude.
Legalization process, especially with how much egregious obstacles people have to go through, might incentivize people to come through non-legal means. I mean,
Sorry, 1 second. I was looking at his jawline. Let me just catch that one again.
The way that we do allow people in through our legalization process, especially with how much egregious obstacles people have to go through, might incentivize people to come through non-legal means. I mean,
yeah, obviously. Like, it's such an obvious follow-through that in most circumstances, I would think that it reflects poorly on this guy for even saying it. But because we're talking to a conservative, it's actually, like, necessary to address this. Do you think making it difficult to immigrate legally might incentivize people to immigrate illegally? Like, yes, obviously. Dude, I fucking love Elon's Twitter, man. Event, The Art of the Surge, 5 hours ago. Politics trending. Pray for President Trump. Thank you, man.
on average, it takes about...
Wait, wait, did he not understand? Whoa, wait, this is the well, okay, hold on. I haven't seen the clip. I only saw like 2 seconds of it, okay? You don't have like an immediate follow-through on this? Like, you're like flustered by this?
On average, it takes about 10 years for somebody to gain citizenship in this country. And if somebody is fleeing...
Yeah, not only does it take on average 10 years... Dude, we have so many insane immigration rules. You guys have no idea. Like getting a green card but not being able to work for a given length of time, or not being able to get a driver's license. Like, following the legal process of immigrating still involves periods of time where the state forces you to basically just sit there and be like a useless like drain on everyone around you in the economy, you know? You know why they do that? Because they only want people immigrating who are wealthy enough or who have sponsors who can provide for them so that they don't need to immediately work. But in consequence, like, this actually has a very negative outcome, because it means that in a lot of cases, immigrants have like a net drain on the economy if they go through legally. Illegal immigrants, however, come here and immediately start working. So it's like, dude, you're insane. It's so stupid, Vosh. My wife and I have been married for 7 years here, and she just now qualified to apply for citizenship after all the hoops we jumped through to get her a green card. It's genuinely psychotic. Like, it's not even like a protecting America kind of thing. It's just stupid. It's just flat stupid.
Political persecution. I really find it interesting how conservatives always like to talk about the response to certain behaviors instead of what the root cause is. When oftentimes United States foreign policy is what creates the destabilization of countries, which is why people try to come to places where they can't get economic benefit. I mean, you're lacking.
True. Completely true. 100% true. Didn't a conservative recently get slammed on this recently? Was it Tucker Carlson? Who was it? It was on Breaking Points, I think, where they were talking about Haiti. Yeah, it was with Ryan Grimm. I think it was Matt Walsh, or it might have been Tucker Carlson, and they were talking about like, oh, Haitian immigrants are coming in. Was it Charlie Kirk? No, it was Matt Walsh. It was Matt Walsh. And Matt Walsh was saying some racist shit about Haitian immigrants, and Ryan Grimm was like, well, have you considered if you don't want Haitian migrants coming in with like poor educational attainment, maybe we shouldn't have like completely fucked Haiti for 300 years? Like, maybe if you don't want people in other countries to try to come here for a better life, we should try to not make their lives there really, really terrible. Just a thought.
Your employee, Matt Walsh, was kind of schooled on this with Ryan.
I swear I haven't seen this clip. I swear I haven't pre-watched this.
Grimm, where he talked about specifically Haitian policy, where the government of Haiti has been destabilized over and over again by Western imperial nations, so that those citizens are trying to flee something with political persecution.
I mean, is it your contention that anytime there's a destabilized nation across the world, even if the United States had a hand in it, then we then have a moral obligation to take in every citizen of that country who wishes?
First of all, yes. Second of all, this is a stupid, reducto ad absurdum. The real position is, if the world was stable, there would be no migrants. So don't make the world unstable. It's not about, do you have a moral obligation to take in all 8 billion people in the world who aren't in America right now? If a tree falls in China, does that mean 1.4 billion people have the right to come over here and live in my bedroom? Fuck you. Ben. The obvious position here is like, don't actively destabilize the world, and you will have fewer migrants. Every time there's a migrant crisis, it's caused in large part by like destabilizing forces that we had a hand in. Not always. With Ukraine, that was Russia. With Syria, that was Assad. With Palestine, and presumably now we're going to have Lebanon and maybe Iran down the line, that was on us. Our drug policy and the extent to which we feed into the systems that empower the cartels. Mexico, Honduras, Colombia, Venezuela. Venezuela is affected heavily by our sanctions and antagonistic economic relations. Not to mention, we tried to do a damn coup there. We tried to coup the entire fucking Central and Latin American, like, continents. Haiti speaks for itself in terms of our involvement. Ben doesn't care. He just doesn't want brown people coming in. No, I know. Like, the real position of the fascist is not some, like, nebulous concern about, like, the economic prosperity of this country. Because fascists constantly do shit that is economically ruinous to this country. Deporting 20 million undocumented immigrants? Are you fucking psychotic? You obviously just care about, like, using the law to hurt non-white and non-American people. Like, it's like you're not motivated by any economic considerations here. Fascists don't wake up and go, I wonder how to maximize the GDP today. I wonder how to increase the minimum wage today. Like, they don't give a shit about that, which is why they talk the way they do.
No, I think that's a huge straw man. I'm not saying that every single
Good on him for not taking the bait.
Person from a destabilized country needs to take refuge in the United States, but I think it's important to add that context so you can understand why people are coming here.
That's a case for a different foreign policy. That's not a case for an immigration policy.
The idea
is these two related things aren't actually related because they fall under different categories.
People are coming in here to mooch off of our emergency rooms or mooch off of our social services, which is just not true at all.
That was a nice little clip. Does anyone else think it's really funny that, like, Charlie Kirk did this, now Ben Shapiro's done this, that these guys went from, like, the titans of debate on the right to, like, exclusively debating college students, and now they're getting run through like a whore on Jubilee by a bunch of, like, 15-year-olds? Isn't that really funny? I think it's pretty funny. Yeah, it's because they're dumb as fuck. I mean, obviously it's because they're dumb as fuck. But it's also like no one cares. No one's engaging with their shit anymore. Now they're just punching bags for, like, I don't want to be presumptuous here. They're punching bags for college students who listen to people like me, Destiny, and Hassan. Literally. Like, they're punching bags for politically engaged, active, rhetorically effective young people who have grown up listening to people like us and are now ready to, like, absolutely demolish the titans of debate from the right from yesteryear. It's like their talking points haven't evolved in a decade, so you know there's plenty of, like, precedent to call upon. If that's true, why aren't we winning a lot more than we are? I don't know what you mean. Young people are overwhelmingly left-leaning, and people like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro get fucking trashed in these, like, debate environments constantly. You know, like, you mean like in the voting numbers, the voting proportions, that's down to, like, bourgeois propaganda. You know, that's not. Look, I'll put it this way, okay? People who are big fans of Ben Shapiro ain't watching Ben Shapiro on Jubilee. I'll tell you that much. Does Jubilee do this to prop them up or embarrass them? They do it to make themselves money. You're right, this guy's a Hasanabi head. Wasn't there recently a guy who kicked ass in Jubilee who was a big fan of mine, and we went over it? This has happened, like, a lot, actually. I get emails where people are like, hey, I'm a fan of yours and I did this show. Or, like, people tell me and they're like, hey, this guy's actually like a Vosh head or whatever. It's happened a few times, though I don't think it was in these 1v20s. I don't remember the details. I wish them all the best of luck. Oh, the Nathan Galang with the $7. Thank you. Hey, Vosh, this video has some VGG rep too. Shortest debate bros. Your link is broken, but I can fix it. There we go. Wait, were you in this debate panel? I was there? Well, there you go. Nice shirt. Well, I guess there you go. You can add that to the damn tally.
Someone not yours, body using your own.
Beep.
It's been tough to get.
Guys, it's a good thing they don't invite me. I'd kill people getting to the chair. I don't even want to be the one to talk to him that much. I'm just... Musical chairs is a combat sport, and anyone who disagrees, you're not invited to Thanksgiving. Rip and tear, yeah. I have these like in the mini player, by the way, because Jubilee's sometimes a bit of a bitch when it comes to copyright and like DMCA and stuff, so I'm trying to play it a little bit careful.
Get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 5'2".
You made it.
I'm the only one in the room shorter than you. Okay, so
Get his ass.
honestly, my understanding of Kamala's plan is a return to Roe v. Wade, but in the legislative level. That seems to be the majority opinion by the American people. They were not for the removal, right? Trump is not really for an abortion ban, right?
I mean, he himself said he is not.
Okay, yeah, but unfortunately, the way he governs, he puts those three folks in the Supreme Court. They do it. His vice presidential pick really wants to do it. He's claiming now that everybody wants it to the states.
Pausing here so that Jubilee doesn't get mad at me.
Nobody wanted it. No, that was not the demand. I think people are just kind of interested in protecting their freedoms. It's a bigger discussion about freedom. And I think Kamala Harris is going to be the presidential pick to protect the freedoms.
Okay, so again, I think that we have to define what we think Kamala Harris's position is. I think that it goes well beyond simply restoring Roe versus Wade, for example, which is extremely flawed.
It doesn't. They have to do this. They always do this. They're like, well, actually, Kamala Harris wants fourth trimester abortions or something. Shut the fuck up.
Legal decision, wide variety of legal scholars ranging from right to left. Ruth Bader Ginsburg used to point out that that was a very flawed legal decision.
We can't pretend that like this is like a bipartisan thing. Roe v. Wade was a problem. The bipartisan thing.
No,
was
you might like
Roe v. Wade.
you might like the results. You might like the results of Roe versus Wade. The actual legal decision is a bad legal decision.
I think that
that's the end of this claim.
I was right at the end. I do like even at the very like in the final hurdle here, Republicans are so afraid of the decision making they've pushed for and engaged in on abortion. Like they're the dog that caught the damn car, you know? They're so afraid of it. Trump walks it back. They all walk it back. Lindsey Graham's had to walk it back several times. That Trump has to keep pretending that everyone wanted Roe v. Wade gone. That's kind of what Ben Shapiro is doing here, where like he's conflating disagreeing with Roe v. Wade on a procedural level versus disagreeing with Roe v. Wade on an ideological level. And because he's like, oh shit, being anti-abortion is really biting us in the ass now, he has to be like, well, actually, everyone thought there were problems with the reasoning. Yeah, but we're not talking about the fucking reasoning. We're talking about abortion rights in general. The question is about the ideology. Wasn't I supposed to end stream a bit ago? Shouldn't I be free right now? Snorcore, thank you for the $5. So weird how pessimistic Vosh has been lately. Guy who started watching me 3 months ago. What are you talking about? It's not really that weird. Yeah, it's, if anything, it's like it's not really that weird actually. I feel like I'm actually providing reasoned arguments for why I feel the way I do. You know? I wouldn't say it's pessimistic, but certainly Kamala Harris is not leaving me with a lot to be excited about at the moment. Yeah, I saw Skynet. Well, anyway, I've read the damn donos. I'm going to stream tomorrow. I love you guys very, very much. I am going to send you over to... Who's streaming right now? It's just Hassan who's streaming on the politics side of things, it looks like. I guess I'll throw you over to Hassan. Thanks for the parasociality. Go fuck yourself. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Drink lots of water. Take care of yourselves. You know, stay frosty is what they like to say. That's what cool people say. And as a cool person, you know, I couldn't agree more. Where's the button?